the technological template of Konoha. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination, so don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like, and if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 51 The Great Battle is about to begin. This chapter serves as a transition. Sir, what's wrong? Seeing Yu Guanghun's body trembling slightly, Kimura Takuya quickly stepped forward and asked with concern. I'm fine. Tell everyone to rest as soon as possible and recover their chakra. Hearing this, Yu Guanghun shook his head and said. He began to calculate in his mind. The upper limit of energy storage had been refreshed, but the energy points were also exhausted. To store 500,000 energy points, assuming that a Chunin's lightning release, Earth release could provide 40 points, 50 people could provide about 2,000 points at a time, and the chakra refined by 50 people resting once could provide about 25,000 points. With 4 times a day, that's 100,000 energy points. It would take at least 5 days to store enough. Of course, he could also use fire release or wind release. Wind releases kinetic energy. Konoha has the most fire release ninjas, followed by earth release ninjas, but Yu Guanghun did not intend to reveal his ability to absorb fire release and wind release. Han-kun, it seems you've made some progress. While Yu Guanghun was pondering, Orochimaru instantly appeared beside him, smiling broadly. He was increasingly impressed with Yu Guanghun's bloodline limit and talent, and increasingly eager to study it further. Lord Orochimaru, I have made some progress, but I still need to prepare for a while. Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghun readily admitted. Han-kun is truly a genius. Even I haven't figured out how Han-kun trains, Orochimaru said with a smile. You should be more confident now in attacking Tsunagakure. Do you need me to send some more lightning-released ninjas to assist Han-kun's training? I'm even more confident. Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghun said with a smile, sending more lightning-released ninjas is unnecessary. 50 people are just right. Besides, lightning-released ninjas are needed everywhere to balance the attributes. In that case, I won't send any more lightning-released ninjas to assist Han-kun, Orochimaru said. He then instructed the 50 lightning-released ninja who were resting, from now on, your mission is to follow Lord Han, protect Lord Han's safety, and obey Lord Han's orders until the war ends. Yes, Lord Orochimaru. Upon hearing this, the 50 Konoha ninja who were resting immediately stood up and replied in unison. They were all incredibly excited. Moonlight Han excelled at long-range combat, and following him would greatly reduce the chances of engaging the enemy in close combat. Not having to fight was undoubtedly safer for them, and as his assistants, they would also receive some merit for assisting him. Given Moonlight Han's abilities and killing efficiency, even if the merit was only for assisting him and had to be shared among 50 people, the sheer amount was considerable. Over time, it would definitely be more than what their comrades risked their lives fighting on the front lines. Their mission was to assist Moonlight Han and protect him. After finishing his business and exchanging only a few words, Orochimaru left. Although he wanted to continue observing Gekko Han, hoping to uncover more of his talents and secrets, as the overall commander of the battle against Tsunagakure, Orochimaru couldn't slack off for long. Many things awaited him, especially now that Gekko Han was present, making the war much smoother. His ambition to become Hokage was now even stronger. At the very heart of the village on Mount Kikayo, Chiyo, Ebizo, Raza, Pakura, and a dozen elite Jonin and dozens of other Jonin from Tsunagakure were gathered. These ninjas with extensive assassination experience and high-ranking officials with sophisticated political skills were united for one purpose, to devise a feasible way to kill Gekko Han first. Gekko Han's bloodline limit was perfectly suited for war and slaughter, enough to tip the scales of the war. With Gekko Han present, the cost of continuing the attack was too high. Moreover, their spies in the Konoha camp reported back that the Konoha genius named Gekko Han was developing a new technique, and Orochimaru had even dispatched 50 lightning-released ninjas to assist and protect him. It seemed even defense would become difficult. However, killing the heavily protected Gekko Han was no easy task. The Konoha leadership wasn't stupid. They naturally understood Gekko Han's importance, especially during this intense war, and would definitely protect this crucial piece who could tip the scales of the war. A week later, in Orochimaru's command center, the battlefield's higher-ranking officials were holding a war meeting. "Han-kun, how are the preparations going?" At the start of the meeting, Orochimaru directly asked Gekko-han, a smile playing on his lips. He had immense confidence in Gekko-han. The elite shonen and strategists in the command center also looked expectantly at Gekko-han. No one objected to Yu Guanghan, a 12-year-old Jinan, participating in the high-level meeting. On the contrary, they were all looking forward to it. Everyone had witnessed Yu Guanghan's strength and contributions to the war, and many of them were far inferior to him. "We're ready. We can definitely inflict heavy casualties on the Sand Ninja. If we can advance to within 15 kilometers of Kikyo Mountain, that would be even better," Yu Guanghan said confidently after being called upon by Orochimaru. In 1 week, he had also stored energy points to the new limit of 500,000 points, enough to fire 1,200 shots even with a 150mm cannon. Energy was plentiful. The only pity was that after reaching the new storage limit, it didn't increase tenfold as Yu Guanghan had hoped, and he didn't know why. "Han-kun has indeed not disappointed me. Gentlemen, we will launch another general offensive in 3 days. Now I will make the following strategic deployment. Please feel free to raise any suggestions or questions." Orochimaru nodded in satisfaction and addressed the ninjas present, beginning to deploy his forces on the map on the wall. Because of the Moonlight Hand's immense role in the war, Konoha now holds an almost overwhelming advantage over Tsunagakure. Orochimaru is riding high, determined to become the 4th Hokage. Everyone carefully studies the map on the wall, attentively listens to Orochimaru's deployment, and rapidly analyzes and rehearses their respective areas and the overall situation in their minds. 2 days later, the field where the battle took place was still the same. More than 3,000 Konoha ninja were already lined up at the edge of the field, waiting. On the other side, the Tsunagakure ninja had also arrived, but they dared not leave the forest. They simply stood facing the Konoha ninja at the edge of the forest. Their large weapons were gone. Not only that, they had also built layers of defensive barriers along the edge of the forest using trees and earthen walls, and dug trenches, the same trenches that appeared in the Obito arc when Konoha ninja defended against the Iwa ninja's attack. All of this was built by the Tsunagakure ninja to defend against the Moonlight Hand's extremely long-range attacks. It seems the Sand ninja are well prepared. "Han-kun, are you still confident?" Orochimaru frowned as he asked Gekko-han, noticing the layers of defenses erected by the opposing side. These defenses, layer upon layer, along with the surrounding trees, were more than enough to protect the Sand ninja during their battles. "Just destroy them one by one," Gekko-han replied confidently. Chapter 52 Canon. "Since Lord Han is so confident, let me see your preparations for these 9 days, Orochimaru said expectantly, seeing Yu Guanghan's confidence. "I won't disappoint Lord Orochimaru," Yu Guanghan said, walking to the front of the formation. Behind Yu Guanghan, Kimura Takuya quickly followed with 50 lightning-released ninjas, ready to replenish Yu Guanghan's strength with lightning release at any time. "I wonder what kind of technique it will be this time. I heard it's terrifying. It requires the assistance of 50 lightning-released ninjas to use. However, no one has ever seen it before, and even the assisting lightning-released ninjas don't know what the technique is." Seeing Yu Guanghan walk to the front of the formation, the surrounding Konoha ninjas also began to discuss, looking at Yu Guanghan with the same anticipation. Multiple cannon template. Arriving 50 meters in front of the formation, Yu Guanghan didn't make any unnecessary movements, simply placing his hands directly on the open ground in front of him. Rumble. The earth trembled as if an earthquake had struck. In the open space before Yu Guanghan, the ground cracked open, revealing 5 enormous bulges, as if some terrifying beast was about to burst forth. The next moment, 5 thick steel pipes, each 6.5 meters long, pierced the ground, pointing straight to the sky, followed by even larger steel bases. Finally, 5 150mm caliber cannons, each weighing 10.5 tons, appeared before the ninja's eyes for the first time. Bigger than before, and 5 of them at once, Orochimaru smiled, looking at the cannons summoned by Yu Guanghan. Today, these things would definitely become the nightmare of the Sand Village. And he himself was about to achieve a great victory. In the forest where the Sand Village resided, standing before rows of wooden and earthen walls, watching Gekko-han approach the Konoha ninja's formation, Raza lowered his binoculars and instructed the ninja beside him, "Immediately tell everyone that the enemy's attack is about to begin. Everyone prepare for defense. Once the front defenses collapse, immediately retreat to the rear and use earth release to build new defenses." Yes, upon hearing this, The messenger ninja immediately began relaying Raza's orders. This was a plan devised by the higher-ups. To deal with the Gekko-Han, they could only rely on strong defenses to hold their ground, delaying the war as much as possible and minimizing casualties. As for launching an attack, the Sand Village could not afford the massive casualties. At the same time, they also considered that the Konoha ninja would charge under Gekko-Han's cover, so they built multiple layers of defense. This way, the Sand Village ninja could fight the Konoha ninja in the rear defenses or block the Konoha ninja, effectively avoiding being accurately killed by Gekko-Han from a distance during the battle. Moreover, these defenses were all concealed behind Raza's gold dust, which could be used to support the defenses or controlled by Raza to support the Sand Ninja in battle. After the Sand Ninja relayed the order, Raza picked up his binoculars again and looked towards the opposite side. However, when he saw the 5 150mm cannons summoned by Gekko-Han and their muzzles leveled and aimed, his expression completely changed, turning to terror. Their enormous size meant immense power, far beyond what their defenses could withstand. "Retreat," Raza roared, manipulating the gold dust behind the defenses to rise up, forming barriers of gold dust. He regretted not having built the defenses thicker and stronger. Hearing Raza's shout and seeing all the gold dust behind the defenses rise up, the Sand Ninja dared not remain behind the defenses any longer and immediately abandoned them, retreating deeper into the forest. Whoosh! A sharp whistling sound rang out, and in the blink of an eye, each shell pierced through several earthen and wooden walls, shattering them one after another. Even the golden sand supported by Raza couldn't stop it. A 150mm cannon can penetrate 1 meter of concrete. 3 earthen walls would only be about that thick, and their strength is far inferior to concrete. This is all based on research. It's not an exaggeration, but rather an understatement. Boom! Huge explosions erupted one after another in the break in the Sand Ninja's defensive formation. The flames of the explosions directly covered everything within a 10-meter radius. The area covered by grenades was even larger, engulfing the Sand Ninja who couldn't evacuate in time. Shattered earthen walls and wood fragments, carrying enormous inertia, flew everywhere, crashing into the surrounding Sand Ninja and causing secondary casualties. The fragments from the bomb explosions had a kill diameter of 300 meters. After the explosions, there was a chorus of screams from within the Sand Ninja's defensive formation. Large sections of the defenses collapsed, and fragments of corpses were scattered everywhere. Many Sand Ninja were stunned by the explosion, blood flowing from their ears, noses, and mouths. These 5 shells killed at least 50 Sand Ninja, injured over 100, and many more were shattered by the shockwave. Damn it! Retreat! Everyone retreat! Retreat into the depths of the forest. Looking at the wailing Sand Ninja scattered across the ground, Raza roared, desperately manipulating his golden sand to create a defense over 2 meters thick. He could only hope that this defense would hold. Amazing! The Konoha ninja were also dumbfounded and shocked by the massive explosion that erupted within the Sand Ninja's defensive formation. That power was comparable to many A-rank fire-release ninjutsu. The power of a ninjutsu depends not only on its rank but also on the user. A powerful ninja can amplify the power of a ninjutsu by 1 rank, or even more. Clang! Clang! A foot-thick cannon casing ejected from the barrel, turning into dust. Bang! The barrel returned to its place, and the cannonball materialized again. 5 deafening explosions rang out again, the cannon spewing flames nearly 5 meters long as the shells hurtled towards the Sand Ninja's position at a speed of 757 meters per second. Truly a terrifying bloodline limit, Orochimaru thought to himself, looking at Gekko-Han ahead, and his respect for him grew even stronger. With Gekko-Han, Konoha's unification of the ninja world wasn't impossible. In the opposite forest, 5 more massive explosions erupted, the flames exceeding the height of the trees. Raza's sand wall was pierced, large trees snapped and torn apart. We can't hold them off. Watching the massive explosions erupt again among the Sand Ninja, Raza's face turned deathly pale, not from injury or exhaustion, but from sheer terror. Being unable to hold them off meant a massacre was imminent. Retreat! Screams echoed through the forest as the Sand Ninja cried out, desperately fleeing deeper into the woods. The 150mm howitzer's kill radius was 500 meters. Of course, this was only the shrapnel area, not a guaranteed death within that radius. However, within a 15-meter radius, death is certain. Even trenches can be easily collapsed, unless you're hiding in a thick bunker or pillbox. Movies and TV series save costs and don't portray explosions realistically. Battleship guns, mostly 280mm to 350mm caliber, can obliterate the ground within tens or even hundreds of meters. You'll be either blown to death or killed by the shockwave. If you still don't understand, the 88mm Tiger tank's main guns were modified from 88mm anti-aircraft guns. Both the type and caliber are far inferior to 150mm cannons. This is still an understatement of the author's power. Cannons don't have the firepower of howitzers, but they have greater penetrating power. Their shells travel 2 to 10 times faster than howitzers, and their range is 2 to 5 times greater. The downside is that cannons are several times heavier than howitzers. The main guns on battleships are usually giant howitzers, which have excellent armor-piercing capabilities and can also fire high-explosive shells to strike round targets. Chapter 53 Long-Range Strike. Why did you stop? After 3 rounds of shelling, Orochimaru watched as Gekko-han turned the 5 cannons into dust and asked in confusion. The distance was too close, so we could only fire directly. Now the sand ninja have retreated further into the forest, and there are too many trees. Continuing would only hit those trees, which would be a waste. So I need to switch to a different weapon to continue killing them, Gekko-han explained. 3 shots, about half a minute later, and the sand ninja had retreated 100 meters into the forest and were still retreating, because the shells were directly materialized in the cannon barrels. The rate of fire was much faster than normal. 6 rounds per minute, alright, Orochimaru nodded. Multiple mortar template, Gekko-han silently chanted in his mind, pressing his hands to the ground again. The next moment, 10 mortars, each 1.2 meters tall and with a 90.5mm caliber, rose from the ground in front of Gekko-han, lined up in a row, and automatically adjusted their angles under Gekko-han's control. The mortars were fired at a high curvature angle. The impact of obstructions was greatly reduced. Bang! 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 In less than 5 seconds, 10 muffled thuds rang out as 10 5.26 kilograms mortar shells flew towards the forest at a speed of 227 meters per second. Bang! 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 2 seconds later, another 10 muffled thuds rang out, and another 10 mortar shells flew out simultaneously, one volley every 2 seconds, continuously. The frequency is much higher, the speed is much slower, but I wonder how powerful they are, Orochimaru thought to himself, watching the continuous mortar firing. His gaze turned to the forest opposite. This time, with his eyesight, he could clearly see the flying mortar shells. Boom! A series of explosions erupted in the opposite forest, the sound like rolling thunder. Under the watchful eyes of the Konoha ninjas, although the explosions were not as terrifying as before, they were dozens of times more frequent. It was as if 100 ninjas were relentlessly bombarding the opposite forest with their great fireball technique. Under the constant, adjusted angles of the Moonlight Hand's barrage, shells relentlessly pursued the retreating sand ninja, exploding among them. In just 1 minute, 300 shells had fallen, snapping trees and igniting a raging inferno amidst the continuous explosions. The scorching flames blazed on the sand ninjas' faces, making their expressions of terror, fear, and panic even clearer. Even when they used wind release techniques to block the falling mortar shells, the rear fuses would detonate them within seconds. Violent explosions erupted continuously around the sand ninjas, shrapnel flying everywhere. Many sand ninjas were torn apart by the explosions and pierced by shrapnel as they ran, collapsing to the ground screaming in agony. Craters half a meter in diameter formed with each explosion. Damn bastards! Facing the relentless barrage of mortar shells, Raza could only curse loudly, manipulating his golden sand to fly above the heads of many sand ninja, shielding some of them from the falling shells. Fortunately, the mortar shells lacked penetrating power. They struck the golden sand cloud above the sand ninja without piercing through, exploding directly within it. Retreat, watching their critically wounded and dying comrades. The sand ninja could only watch helplessly as they lay on the ground awaiting death, too afraid to offer any assistance. Amidst the constant explosions of bombs falling from the sky, they risked becoming one of those on the ground at any moment. The critically wounded and dying had already been abandoned. They couldn't sacrifice more people for those destined to die. Even their own dying comrades were preventing them from rescuing them. This war is a complete mistake. We can't possibly defeat Konoha. With that guy around, we can't even charge in and fight. We just lost at least a couple hundred men, and even more were wounded. This kind of war is unwinnable. Deep in the forest, the sand ninja, who had retreated 5 miles, bandaged their wounds, arguing and spewing negativity. The situation had been too dire. They hadn't even had time to take some of the seriously wounded with them. We have to find a way. There must be a way. He must have a weakness. Hearing the sand ninja's commotion, Raza no longer had the energy to stop their negativity. His mind was now focused on how to kill Gekko-han as quickly as possible and how to defend against his attacks. Otherwise, Kikyo Mountain would likely fall before Chihao and the others could succeed. Once Kikyo Mountain fell, they would have to retreat from the forest and enter the Gobi Desert. Without the forest's cover, it would be even harder to resist Gekko-han's long-range attacks. Whoosh! Behind the sand ninja, a gray smoke bomb suddenly exploded, sending gray smoke billowing into the sky. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! A few seconds later, before the sand ninja could figure out what had happened with the smoke bomb, or if someone had accidentally dropped it and it had exploded, the whistling sound of artillery shells rang out above their heads, making the sand ninja, who had just caught their breath, tense up again. Boom! The ensuing explosion confirmed the sand ninja's unease. One after another, 75mm shells flew at high speed, continuously landing in the forest, snapping trees and sending dirt flying high into the air. Damn it, we're still within his attack range. Retreat. Watching the continuous explosions, Raza and the sand ninja cursed loudly, forced to stop treating their injuries and continue retreating towards Mount Kikyo. After firing the mortars for more than a minute, Moonlight Han stopped and cancelled the mortar emplacement. The 90mm mortar has a range of only 3,800 meters. Subtracting the 2,000 plus meters from the field and the distance the sand ninja retreated, it's only effective within 500 meters. Estimating the sand ninja's retreat speed, a DJI drone constantly monitored the forest for any signs of movement. 10 minutes later, as gray smoke appeared in the forest, Yu Guanghan placed his hands on the ground again, and 10 mountain guns rose from the ground. After adjusting the muzzles and calculating the distance, 10 shells flew out in the blink of an eye, accompanied by 10 roars. 5 seconds later, another 10 cannon shots rang out simultaneously. How far can it reach? Behind Yu Guanghan, watching him cancel the mortar and instead summon 10 mountain guns, continuously firing at a rate of 120 shells per minute, yet seeing no explosion in the opposite forest, Orochimaru asked curiously. The surrounding Konoha ninja also perked up their ears, all very curious about Yu Guanghan's maximum attack range. About 10 li. But unfortunately we don't have their exact location, so we can only estimate the distance. Hopefully, we can hit them. Upon hearing this, Moonlight Han didn't hide anything and continued firing while giving a brief reply. 10 li. Even Orochimaru was shocked upon hearing this. My god, they can hit them 10 li away. The Konoha ninjas who heard this exclaimed in amazement, one after another, and the entire Konoha formation was filled with exclamations of wonder. Chapter 54, The Sudden Change, The Angry Moonlight Man. Damn Konoha ninjas, damn the Moonlight Clan. I, Raza, swear to kill him, Raza cursed, leading his sand ninja forces, who were also loudly cursing Moonlight Han, back to Kikyo Mountain. Unfortunately, all they could do now was vent their anger through cursing. They lacked both the ability and the courage to actually kill Moonlight Han. Although Raza could control Moonlight Han, his sand ninja forces were completely outmatched by him in terms of distance. They couldn't even get within 1,000 meters of him, let alone kill him. Furthermore, Moonlight Han was surrounded by Konoha's army, protected by over 3,000 Konoha ninja, many of whom were highly skilled. Even if Raza himself could reach Moonlight Han, without a large number of sand ninja to assist him, it would be suicide. Seeing Raza return with the sand ninja, their faces contorted in grief and resentment, many even being carried back by their equally wounded comrades, a somber atmosphere instantly enveloped the sand ninja who remained at Kikyo Mountain, permeating the entire mountain. They had only gone out this morning, there were 1,500 of them when they left. How could they have returned at noon with such heavy casualties? Medical ninja, come quickly, quickly, get bandages and medicine. Hemostats. Braces, brother, shouts echoed among the remaining ninja. The few medical ninja rushed to the returning sand ninja, treating the seriously injured and calling out for medical supplies. Some ninja anxiously searched for their loved ones amidst the grieving crowd. Raza, are you injured? In the midst of the sorrowful and hurried crowd, a gray-haired female ninja ran to Raza's side, asking with concern. She quickly reached out to check Raza's body for injuries. The dire state of the returning troops filled her with immense anxiety. I'm not injured, Gaara, hurry and heal everyone's wounds. The enemy will likely attack soon. Gather all the Earth-released ninjas who are still capable of fighting and immediately reinforce the defenses of Kikayo Mountain. Send out all available ninjas, along with all available supplies, to set traps near Kikayo Mountain. Seeing his wife's anxious expression, Raza sighed, but had no time to comfort her, and hastily gave the orders. In this battle, under Gecko Hand's long-range attacks, they not only failed to kill a single Konoha ninja, but also lost over 500 men. They had gone forth with 1,500 men, but returned with less than 900, almost half their ninja were lost. Apart from Raza and a few skilled and lucky ninjas, almost everyone else was wounded to varying degrees. This battle was a complete defeat. What worried Raza even more was that Konoha would likely attack soon, and Gecko Han would certainly join the main Konoha force. With Gecko Han present, they were unable to contain him and could only reinforce their defenses and hold out. Yes, seeing the uneasy Raza, Karayu knew the situation was urgent, even though he didn't know what had happened, and quickly left. Hopefully Chiao and the others can hurry, otherwise Kikayo Mountain probably won't hold out for long. Watching Karayu's departing figure, Raza couldn't help but pray. Because of Gecko Han alone, the war that had initially been advantageous had completely turned into disadvantage. Lord Orochimaru, Lord Han, Lord Minato, in this battle, we annihilated more than 340 sand ninja. This doesn't include those whose bodies were blown to pieces, and captured about 120 prisoners, most of whom were seriously wounded. Our side suffered no casualties. On the opposite side of the field, in the forest littered with corpses, the Root ninja quickly tallied the results and reported to Orochimaru. Even though Root was devoid of emotion, he couldn't help but be shocked when he stated these figures. Because all these achievements belonged to Gecko Han alone, and were accomplished in just a few minutes. That man was simply a machine born for killing. Understood, you may leave now, Orochimaru said, waving away the Root ninja, and then smilingly said to Gecko Han, Han-kun, you deserve the greatest credit for this battle. I will report your achievements back to the village in full. Thank you, Lord Orochimaru, but please give me these sand ninja headbands. After the war, I want to offer them to my parents in heaven, Gecko Han said, his gaze fixed on Mount Kikayo, his fist clenched. The day of final revenge was drawing ever closer. No problem, Orochimaru said with a smile. Report. Suddenly, a Root ninja rushed over, presenting a scroll to Orochimaru with both hands. Lord Orochimaru, a summoning beast has delivered an urgent report from the village. Urgent report. Upon hearing this, Orochimaru frowned, immediately taking the scroll. He formed several complex hand seals to release the seal on the scroll and opened it. Damn it! After reading the scroll, Orochimaru's hands involuntarily tightened, bending the scroll. They were so close to complete victory, and now this had to happen. Seeing the enraged Orochimaru, Yu Guanghan couldn't help but look at the scroll tightly gripped in Orochimaru's hands. Lord Han, I'm afraid our attack plan will have to be postponed. Seeing Yu Guanghan's gaze, Orochimaru said with a grim face. Without waiting for Yu Guanghan to ask, he explained, Tsunagakure has submitted a negotiation agreement, and the Tsunagakure ninja are even willing to ally with Konoha. Chiao of Tsunagakure has already personally gone to Konoha. The village has ordered us to suspend our attack. Our war with the Tsunagakure ninja is probably coming to an end. Suspend our attack? The war with the Tsunagakure ninja is coming to an end. Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghan was stunned, a surge of anger rising within him. He had been getting closer and closer to revenge. No wonder he only saw Raza among the high-ranking officials of Tsunagakure during this attack. Bang! A loud crash echoed through the forest. Enraged and unwilling, Yu Guanghan punched a tree half his waist in half, his suppressed rage causing his body to tremble uncontrollably. Han-kun, I know you're unwilling to end this way. You still have a great grudge to avenge, and I'm not willing to let it end here either. Seeing Yu Guanghan's furious expression, Orochimaru patted his shoulder and said, if it were just Tsunagakure submitting a negotiation agreement, I would definitely conquer Kikayo Mountain. But the situation is more complex now. Iwe ninja have broken through the land of grass and entered the land of fire. The third Tsuchikage, Anoki, has not only increased his forces significantly but has even sent his Jinchuriki, Roshi. Jiraiya's situation is precarious, with heavy casualties. The village has ordered us to quickly dispatch ninja to support the battlefield against the Iwe ninja. The Land of Lightning is also showing signs of joining the war, so the village urgently hopes to end the war with Tsunagakure as soon as possible. We even hope to form an alliance with Tsunagakure and use their strength to fight against the Land of Earth. Lord Orochimaru, who will you send to fight against the Land of Earth? Yu Guanghan asked, desperately suppressing the flames about to erupt within him. I'm sending you, Orochimaru said, interrupting Gekko-han before he could speak. Besides the 50 lightning-released ninjas assisting you, I'll send another 500 ninjas with you, along with everyone from the Gekko clan. Orochimaru knew that if Gekko-han remained, Mount Kikayo might be engulfed in flames that night. Therefore, he had no choice but to send Gekko-han away, and to appease him, he even assigned everyone from the Gekko clan to his command. I understand. Back to camp, Gekko-han said through gritted teeth, shouting to the 50 lightning-released ninjas following him. He then turned and walked towards the camp. Seeing Gekko-han leave in a huff, the 50 lightning-released ninjas looked at each other, bewildered. Finally, at the call of Timber Takuya, they followed Gekko-han back to the camp. Give the order, everyone assemble, return to camp, Orochimaru commanded the root ninjas after Gekko-han left, his own anger barely contained. Because Konoha hoped to form an alliance with Tsunagakure and utilize Tsunagakure's strength to fight against the Land of Earth, even though he was about to conquer Kikayo Mountain, for the sake of superficial peace and to better facilitate the alliance, he had to halt his attack, even with victory within reach. Kikayo Mountain could only wait for the Tsunagakure ninja to withdraw after the negotiations concluded. The merit of defeating Tsunagakure was not even half of what was gained from conquering Kikayo Mountain. Part of the merit of defeating Tsunagakure was taken by the higher-ups in the negotiations. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Leaving. Tsunagakure, our feud won't end like this. Night fell. At the entrance to Konoha's camp, Gekko-han clenched his fists, staring intently in the direction of Kikayo Mountain, silently vowing to himself. Han, it's time to go. Seeing Gekko-han's unwavering gaze on Kikayo Mountain, Gekko Hoshino patted his shoulder. He knew Gekko-han was filled with anger and resentment, but he didn't know how to comfort or console him. Even he himself felt deeply aggrieved. They were so close to taking Kikayo Mountain, so close to easily achieving victory. After more than a year of war, so many lives had been lost, so much hatred had accumulated, and victory and revenge were just around the corner. Now, suddenly, an order for a ceasefire and negotiations arrived. Not only Gekko-han, but almost everyone felt resentful, even internally rejecting the order. Unfortunately, an order is an order, and the greater good is the greater good. For the sake of policy success, and to prevent further sacrifices, accepting the order was the only correct choice. Let's go. Glancing once more in the direction of Kikayo Mountain, Gekko-han turned and roared, venting his frustration. With Gekko-han's shout, the 550 Konoha ninja quickly turned and headed towards the border between the Land of Earth and the Land of Fire. Lord Raza, our spy reports that Orochimaru has dispatched Gekko-han with 550 ninja to reinforce Jiraiya on the battlefield between Konoha and the Land of Earth. They set off last night, at Kikayo Mountain. The intelligence ninja excitedly reported to Raza, who hadn't slept all night. I know, you can leave now, Raza replied calmly. Forced into a corner and unable to fight directly, forced to resort to a diversionary tactic, it was truly frustrating. However, Gekko-han's departure did bring a sigh of relief to many Sand ninja, including Raza. Although humiliating, Raza was secretly relieved that his plan had succeeded. It turns out that 9 days ago, during a high-level meeting of the Sand Village leadership, discussions focused on how to deal with Gekko-han. Despite their elite ninjas' efforts, they couldn't devise a viable method to kill or restrain the heavily protected Gekko-han. Ultimately, the cunning Chiyo devised a scheme to divert the trouble elsewhere. Since they couldn't kill or restrain Gekko-han's bloodline limit, they would send him elsewhere. The battlefield between Konoha and Iwa was a perfect fit, as the Iwa ninja were skilled in defense. However, executing this plan was extremely risky. First, Chiyo would travel to Konoha to negotiate peace. Given Konoha's current multi-front war, they would undoubtedly need to alleviate pressure and were highly likely to accept negotiations. During the negotiations, a truce between Sand Village and Konoha would be necessary. Only in this way could Sand Village have a chance to regroup. After the truce, such an important force as Gekko-han would not be wasted. With other battlefields in dire straits, Gekko Han would certainly be dispatched to an even more crucial location, the battlefield between Konoha and Iwa. On the other hand, to make the battlefield between Konoha and Iwa ninja appear more urgent, Ebizo went to the Land of Earth to form an alliance with its Tsuchikage and persuade him to intensify the attack on Konoha. Pakura, meanwhile, led over 1,000 sand ninja into the Land of Rain. The battlefield between Iwa and Konoha was in the Land of Rain and the Land of Grass, which will be explained in later chapters. The sand ninja entered the Land of Fire through the Land of Rivers, but how they did so wasn't mentioned in the story. They then disguised themselves as Zuwa ninja, traversing the Land of Rain to the Land of Grass, putting pressure on the Konoha ninja and secretly helping the Land of Earth gain an advantage, thus increasing the chances of Gekko Han being dispatched there. All of this needed to be completed before Konoha captured Kikayo Mountain. Raza, meanwhile, led the remaining sand ninja to defend Kikayo Mountain, holding out as long as possible. This is why, in previous battles, only Raza was present on the sand side, and with only 1,500 men, half of the sand ninja had been secretly redeployed. The remaining sand ninja were prepared from the beginning to stubbornly defend the mountain. The risk of this plan lay in whether Raza could successfully halt Konoha's attack before it succeeded. If Konoha captured Kikayo Mountain, the feigned surrender would become a genuine one. Fortunately, the plan succeeded. Konoha, as expected, postponed its attack on Kikayo Mountain to conserve its strength for upcoming wars with other countries, focusing instead on negotiations. Gekko Han was successfully transferred to the battlefield between Konoha and Iwagakure. As for forming an alliance, they were unwilling to accept defeat, and with Gekko Han alive, Konoha's war-making capabilities would only grow stronger. Once Tsunagakure became Konoha's vassal, it would likely never have a chance to recover. 3 days later. Stop, in the forest, Gekko Han, who was traveling at breakneck speed, suddenly raised his hand, signaling everyone to halt. At Gekko Han's command, the 550 Konoha ninja who were marching at full speed immediately stopped. No one voiced any objection to Gekko Han's command, even though Gekko Han was only a Junan, just 12 years old. However, Moonlight Hand's strength and achievements were evident to all, and he was personally appointed commander by Orochimaru. What's wrong, Han boy? After the group stopped, Moonlight Hoshino and a middle-aged man immediately came to Moonlight Hand's side and asked. As Moonlight Hand's uncle and the head of the Moonlight clan, a seasoned Junin, Moonlight Hoshino naturally became one of Moonlight Hand's 3 advisors. The other 2 advisors were White Cloud Morning and Kimura Takuya. The 3 of them were Moonlight Hand's advisors and were responsible for assisting Moonlight Han in managing the group. Something's not right. It's too quiet. Upon hearing this, Moonlight Han said coldly, when we marched several hundred people earlier, we startled many wild beasts and birds in the forest, but since 10 minutes ago, it's been too quiet around us. The number of wild beasts and birds has been decreasing, and we haven't seen a single one yet. The most likely explanation is that all the wild beasts and birds have been scared away in advance. Sensory ninjas immediately scout the surroundings, especially the underground. Upon hearing this, Moonlight Hoshino immediately ordered the ninja team around him. Byakugan, upon hearing Gekko Hoshino's command, 3 Hyuga clan ninjas immediately stepped forward, forming hand seals and activating their Byakugan. The veins around their eyes bulged. Sir, there are a large number of explosive tags buried underground 800 meters ahead, and there are ninjas lying in ambush nearby, numbering over 1,000. Half a minute later, a Hyuga ninja named AA reported to Gekko Han. An ambush as expected, Gekko Han said coldly, his gaze turning fierce. Chapter 56 will be outside. There really was an ambush. And it was aimed at us. Upon hearing the Hyuga ninja's report, Gekko Han said, his eyes turning fierce. If it wasn't aimed at them, why were there so many ninjas lying in ambush here, and why were traps set up? It's aimed at us. The enemy already knows we're here to reinforce Lord Jiraiya, Gekko Hoshino said, his brows furrowed. This meant that reinforcing Jiraiya wouldn't be so easy for them. HMPH, Gekko Han sneered, since they don't want us to join Lord Jiraiya's forces, then we'll do as they wish and not go to join Lord Jiraiya. No, sir. If we don't go to support him, it's disobeying orders. Upon hearing this, Kimura Takuya immediately said. He considered Gekko Han his future pillar of support, and he couldn't afford such a problem. Han, supporting Jiraiya is the village's order. Lord Jiraiya's forces are already suffering heavy losses and are in dire straits, Gecko Hoshino quickly added. Moonlight Han had just reached the top of the village council. No one in the entire Moonlight clan had a voice like him, and they couldn't afford to ruin it with a single wrong decision. The situation on the battlefield changes in an instant. A general in the field must adapt to changing circumstances. Disobeying orders is acceptable, victory is the most important thing, Moonlight Han said, shaking his head. Besides, although Lord Jiraiya's situation is critical, he can still hold out for a while. The ninjas supporting Lord Jiraiya can't just be our 500-odd men, we don't even have enough to compensate for the casualties. And the Iwe ninjas have reinforced their forces considerably, and the village should have sent even more ninjas to support him. They don't necessarily need our support that much, Han, you mean, attack other places, Moonlight Hoshino asked. That's right, Moonlight Han nodded and said, since the enemy has already learned of our coming to support us and has sent so many ninjas to ambush us, it's enough to show that they won't let us easily rendezvous with Jiraiya. They even want to wipe out our entire support ninja force. However, we don't need to fight them head-on, since they are already prepared. It would be a huge loss to make huge sacrifices just to rendezvous with the troops led by Lord Jiraiya. Since the enemy has already invaded the Land of Fire, then we should attack their rear, disrupt or even cut off their logistics, force them to come back to rescue, and relieve the pressure on Jiraiya. So where should we attack? White Cloud Morning asked. He said, we only have a map of this area, not a map of the battlefield situation. Without a fixed target, it's difficult for a force of over 500 people to hide their whereabouts. Having a target makes it easy for the Iwe ninjas to predict our route and prepare accordingly. What we need to do is keep moving in and out of the battlefield, disrupting the Iwe ninjas' rear as much as possible, Moonlight Han said. Hearing this, White Cloud Morning and the other two exchanged glances. Yes, sir, Yu Guang'an shouted. Give the order to change direction and head west. I want to keep their rear unsettled, he commanded. Sensory ninjas, keep a close watch on the enemy's movements and the surrounding terrain. Report back to me immediately if you find any open areas. Also, set up cluster traps along the way using explosive tags. You don't need many, just enough to create a disturbance. Yes, sir. Upon hearing this, all the Konoha ninja responded loudly and followed Yu Guang'an westward at high speed. Lord Dong's siren. The Konoha ninjas have changed direction. In the forest, behind a large tree, an Iwe ninja reported to an elite Iwe Jonin hiding behind another large tree. This was their commander. Looks like we've been discovered. Heading west, are they trying to disrupt our rear? They're quite bold, Dong Siren muttered to himself, pondering the Konoha ninja's intentions. Dong Siren, who served as the combat commander, not the overall commander, against Konoha during the Third Shinobi World War, and at one point reduced Konoha's frontline force to only 4 men, later died at the hands of Konoha's Yellow Flash, Minato Namikaze. Should we pursue him, sir? A Hirozen Iwe ninja emerged from underground and asked. Hirozen, a Jonin of Iwa. Pursue him? That's suicide, Dong Siren said coldly. Reliable intelligence indicates that the opposing commander is Konoha's Gekkohan. He's extremely skilled at long-range precision kills and can launch attacks similar to explosion release from a distance. His attack range even exceeds 1 mile, and his attack speed is extremely fast, making it difficult even for Jonin to react. He has a significant suppressive effect on the battlefield, sir. He's just a 12-year-old child, and only a Jinan. Never underestimate anyone, even if he's just a child, Dong Siren warned solemnly. Moonlight Han's reputation as Konoha's strongest genius isn't just empty boasting, it's built on the corpses of those sand ninja. Intelligence reports repeatedly state that his bloodline limit is incredibly powerful, capable of instantly killing Jonin. It's said that no fewer than 500 sand ninja have died at his hands, including more than 1 elite Jonin. He's even altered the course of battles, boasting numerous achievements. He's a powerful ninja capable of influencing the battlefield, otherwise, he couldn't have become a commander leading over 500 ninja at the age of 12. Keep in mind that his command includes Jonin, which speaks volumes about his strength and ability. He's only a Jinan. Konoha just hasn't had time to raise his rank yet. Yes, sir, the Iwe ninja emerging from the ground bowed in understanding. Send out sensory ninja to constantly monitor their movements. We'll temporarily follow behind them, looking for an opportunity. Also, report back to us the situation here and our actions, East Deadman ordered. Yes, sir, Demon Leech respectfully responded, vanishing from East Dead Man's side in a flash. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, at the same time, a whooshing sound like stones whistling through the air rang out. What's this? Hearing the sound from the sky, the Demon Leech was puzzled. Boom! Before the Eastern Dead could figure it out, a series of explosions rang out in the forest around him. The violent explosions devastated everything around them, with shrapnel and wood chips flying everywhere. 90.5 mm mortar shell weighs 5.26 kilograms, explosive charge 3.5 kilograms. My lord, we've hit them accurately. About a mile and a half from the Iwa ninja, Hyuga Tokugawa excitedly reported to Gekkohan. It turned out that while Dong Siren and Mazi were rambling on, Yu Guanghan had already led the Konoha ninja on a rapid westward march of about a mile. Finding the enemy wasn't pursuing and that he had reached an ideal distance, Yu Guanghan, adhering to the principle of seizing every advantage without affecting the plan and inflicting casualties whenever possible, decisively made his move. 20 mortars fired continuously. The mortars are indirect fire mortars, with a firing arc of 50 meters to their maximum range. The protagonist's ideal distance is not the firing range, but the optimal attack distance, meaning the Iwa ninja cannot immediately reach him, nor can they escape the attack range. I've been working too much overtime lately and am too tired, so updates are slower. Sorry, updates will pick up speed after these few days. Chapter 57 How to Deal with Him. It's him. Those damned Sand Village actually concealed such important information. Watching the black dots falling rapidly from the sky at speeds imperceptible to the naked eye, exploding violently, and seeing his comrades killed and wounded, Higashi finally understood, muttering curses under his breath. Earth release, earth wall, explosions continued to ring out all around, and the Iwa ninja reacted immediately, erecting earthen walls on the ground. However, these unidentified objects were incredibly powerful, and falling from the sky, so defensive ninjutsu like earth wall could only defend against scattered shrapnel, not the sky. Moreover, earth wall couldn't stop these powerful objects from exploding at close range and couldn't completely block the attack. The earthen walls could withstand explosions, but not from the sky. The earthen array can't withstand the close-range blast of a 90mm mortar shell. After all, it can destroy a simple bunker, take the wounded and retreat immediately. Seeing that even the earthen array couldn't completely defend, and that comrades were still being wounded and killed, Dong Siren shouted, hoisting a wounded comrade on his back and quickly retreating. The Moonlight Beast's abilities and strength were clearly far greater than the intelligence given to them by Tsunagakure. Having suffered losses, he dared not attack rashly until he truly understood the Moonlight Beast's capabilities. Damn it, how far is its attack range? In the forest, Dong Siren gritted his teeth, carrying the wounded, and led his Iwa ninja in a desperate sprint, cursing inwardly. The distance between them and the Konoha ninja was already over 800 meters, and after being attacked, he had already retreated more than a mile, yet those black things in the sky were still relentlessly chasing them down. That meant the attack range was over 2 miles. Was the Moonlight Beast a tail beast? My lord, the enemy has retreated to within 2 miles. I apologize, but this distance is beyond my reconnaissance range. On the other side, Hyuga Tokugawa said apologetically and respectfully to Yu Guanghan, his eyes filled with admiration. Although it was a bit strange for a young Chunin to admire a young Jinan, it didn't diminish his admiration for Yu Guanghan. If he also possessed Yu Guanghan's terrifying bloodline limit, escaping the branch family's status wouldn't be impossible. Even if he couldn't escape the branch family's status, he would still try to do so for his unborn child. Guess who this is? A Hyuga female ninja born in Konoha in 1945, exceeding the perception range is normal. Don't blame yourself. A perception range of 2.5 miles is already very satisfactory. Just work hard to improve yourself in the future. Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghan said, canceling the multi-mortar template and ordering everyone, continue marching west. Yes, upon hearing this, the 550 Konoha ninja immediately responded loudly and continued their rapid march westward under Yu Guanghan's command. Finally, it stopped. After the explosion subsided, Dong Siren led the Iwa ninja to retreat over 500 meters before gently setting down the wounded he was carrying. He let out a long sigh of relief and ordered the still shaken Iwa ninja, immediately treat the wounded and take a head count. Yes, sir. The Iwa ninja, who had just stopped, immediately responded loudly and quickly got to work. Sir, we have 53 missing ninjas and 217 wounded, 31 of whom are seriously injured. An Iway ninja reported to Dong Siren shortly after. The missing he referred to were those not present. Over 90% of them had been caught in the explosion, with a few scattered. In such a short time, the casualties have been so heavy. Hearing of the devastating losses, Dong Siren gritted his teeth even more, his hatred for Tsunagakure intensifying. At this moment, his hatred for Tsunagakure even surpassed it for the Moonlight Han, who had inflicted such heavy casualties. If Tsunagakure hadn't deliberately concealed information about Gekko Han, leaving them unprepared, how could they have suffered such heavy casualties? Tsunagakure deliberately withheld such crucial information, clearly harboring ill intentions, wanting to cause them to lose a large number of men to Gekko Han. Now, thinking back, the fundamental reason for Tsunagakure's feigned surrender to Konoha and their sudden alliance with Iwagakure was probably that they had already lost a large number of men to Gekko Han, far more than the intelligence indicated, enough to tip the balance of the war between Tsunagakure and Konoha, forcing them to feign surrender and form an alliance with us. Tsunagakure's dispatch of troops disguised as Iwagakure ninja to help them attack Konoha's grass country front was likely also to put pressure on Konoha, forcing them to send Gekko Han to this battlefield. Damn Tsunagakure. If Gekko Han hadn't been deployed to this battlefield by Konoha, they probably would have really surrendered. The more Dong Siren analyzed, the more his anger surged. Sir, what do we do next? A ninja from Iway interrupted Hidden Death's thoughts. Send men back to search and rescue. Also, send elites to track the Leaf Village ninjas. Don't act rashly, and keep the information flowing. Hearing this, Hidden Death temporarily suppressed his anger and gave the order. Yes, sir. Upon hearing this, the ninja who had asked the question quickly disappeared to make the arrangements. The Sand Village ninjas have ill intentions. I must report back, otherwise too many people will die. After the ninja who had asked the question left, Hidden Death immediately took out a scroll and wrote down his entire situation and analysis. He then sealed the scroll with a restriction seal and had a messenger ninja summon a ninja hawk to deliver the scroll. The alliance between Sand Village and Iway Village was still a secret. Although he had already suspected it and was very angry, he could only suppress his anger for the time being. Whether to continue the alliance with Sand Village still needed to be decided by the highest levels of the village. Sir, the brothers can't swallow this insult. Order the pursuit to continue. We can't let these Konoha ninja escape. We can't let our brothers die in vain, Hirozen said to Higashi, his face contorted with rage. They had originally planned to ambush the Konoha ninja, over 1,000 men ambushing 500, expecting a decisive victory. But the ambush failed, resulting in heavy losses, and they hadn't even seen a Konoha ninja. Shut up, Hirozen, Higashi immediately shouted. Then he said, the situation has changed. Retreat temporarily and await further orders from the village. Yes, sir, Hirozen could only reply reluctantly. Military orders were absolute, he dared not disobey. Iwagakure was militarized, boasting the second largest ninja population in the ninja world. And even the largest during the Third Shinobi World War. Chapter 58 T1000 Template. Sir, rats have followed us. We've spotted 6, spread out in 3 locations, each between 500 and 800 meters apart. They're likely all Jonin. Hyuga Tokugawa reported to Gekko Han amidst the rapidly advancing Konoha troop. Han, should we ambush them and capture them? Maybe we can extract some information about Iwagakure's troop deployment, Gekko Hoshino asked. Now is not the time. Some of them have sensory ninjas, they might discover our movements. I'll capture them myself tonight, or it'll be too late. Hearing this, Gekko Han looked at the approaching sunset and continued leading his troops forward. Night fell. In the faint moonlight, Gekko Han led the Konoha ninjas over a ridge and saw a village with scattered lights in the dim light below, about 1.5 li away. On the other side of the village was an open field, presumably cultivated alongside the village. We're lucky. We'll have a decent place to spend the night. Looking at the faint lights flickering in the village below, Yu Guang'an shouted to the Konoha ninja behind him. Tokugawa immediately sensed that village down the mountain. It would be even better if there were any ninjas there, Yu Guang'an instructed Hyuga Tokugawa. After giving the order, Yu Guang'an himself built several DJI drones and flew towards the village. Sir, nothing unusual was found. The village only shows faint chakra reactions from ordinary people. And there are very few, less than 30, Hyuga Tokugawa reported to Yu Guang'an 2 minutes later, his Byakugan activated. However, when his Byakugan saw Yu Guang'an, he froze. What's wrong? Yu Guang'an asked, seeing Hyuga Tokugawa's stunned expression. Nothing, sir, Hyuga Tokugawa replied hastily, shaking his head and quickly deactivating his Byakugan, turning his gaze back to the village below. He dared not look at Yu Guang'an again. In the Naruto world, everyone possesses chakra, but ordinary people have very weak chakra due to lack of talent and methods for refining it. Let's go, rest at the village ahead. 5 minutes later, after the drone had scouted the village below the mountain, Gecko Han finally gave the order. Han, what about those rats? And those villagers? In the village below, Gecko Hoshino walked up to Gecko Han, who was gazing at the moonlight, and asked. I'll deal with the rats later, Gecko Han replied, his gaze continuing to fixed on the moon, seemingly deep in thought. And what about the villagers? Seeing that Gecko Han didn't explain how to handle the villagers, Gecko Hoshino asked again. He knew Gecko Han understood what he meant. Perhaps Gecko Han hadn't decided how to deal with the villagers, or perhaps he couldn't bear to kill these ordinary people, which was why he hadn't answered his second question. Don't worry about them, they pose no threat to us, Gecko Han said. But they'll reveal our whereabouts and expose our location, Moonlight Hoshino said. If you can't bring yourself to do it, I'll give the order. No, it's not that I can't bear to give such an order, but it's unnecessary. They pose no threat to us, on the contrary, they're useful, Moonlight Ton said. Hearing this, Moonlight Hoshino opened his mouth, but finally said, alright, found them, Moonlight Ton said. His body began to glow silver in the moonlight, rippling like water. Han, you? Moonlight Hoshino stared wide-eyed at Moonlight Han's appearance. It's just a new move, Uncle Hoshino. I'll leave this to you for now. Don't kill those villagers, I'll keep them for later, Moonlight Han said, finally turning into a pool of mercury and flowing into the forest. T-1000 liquid robot, Terminator, composed of liquid metal with recoverable memories, can freely transform between liquid and solid states. It can self-restore after being destroyed and automatically closes wounds after being injured or shot. It consumes 2 energy points per hour in normal operation. Repairing increases energy point consumption, another new technique, similar to the water transformation secret technique of the Mizuki clan of the Land of Water. This kid really keeps surprising us. Watching Moonlight Han turn into a puddle of liquid and flow up the mountain, Moonlight Hoshino's lips curled into an undisguised smile. Biwa, those Konoha ninjas are eating now. Should we infiltrate them and gather information? In the forest halfway up the mountain, an Iwe ninja looked at the brightly lit village below and said to her only companion. Oishi, are you trying to die? There are definitely sensory ninjas among them. It's not that easy to get close to them. Hearing this, the female Iwe ninja named Biwa looked at her companion as if she were an idiot. That's true, ha ha ha. Upon hearing this, Iwe ninja Oishi laughed awkwardly. He then asked, then why don't they chase us away or capture us? Why do they let us follow them? I don't know either. Anyway, we should be careful. We'll switch places in 10 minutes, understand? Hearing this, Biwa shook her head and said. Were you even listening to me? After a few seconds, Oishi didn't speak, and Biwa turned around angrily. The next moment, Biwa's eyes widened in terror. She stammered, Moonlight Han, he didn't hear, but I did. Behind the female Iwe ninja Biwa, Moonlight Han stood quietly, no more than 2 meters away. Her companion, Oishi, was already unconscious, being lifted by Moonlight Han by his waist. This was one of the reasons she hadn't noticed the movement behind her. Judging from your expression, you know me. Looking at the female Iwe ninja staring at him with wide, terrified eyes, Moonlight Han asked coldly. The great famous of Konoha? Biwa said, her eyes fixed on Yu Guanghan's every move, one hand discreetly behind her side. PFFT. 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 Before Biwa could finish speaking, 3 tranquilizer darts struck her, silencing her. No need to speak now. Once I take you back, there will be plenty of time for you to tell me everything. The female Iwe ninja, Biwa, lost consciousness and collapsed to the ground, her eyelids growing heavier. Hearing Yu Guanghan's contemptuous voice, her eyes went dark. HMPH, trying to remind your comrades, these are tranquilizer darts for large beasts, effective in 3 seconds. Looking at the unconscious female Iwe ninja, Yu Guanghan said coldly, reverting his 3 fingers, which had been transformed into gun barrels, back to their original form. He lifted her with one hand, and a signal flare slid out from her sleeve. The tranquilizer gun will not be described here. It is set to fire any dose of tranquilizer darts. Consumption is calculated based on dosage, with a maximum of 5 energy points. Chapter 59 Biochemical Technology. Firelight, Biwa, and Oishi have all been captured. Just now, within seconds, their chakra completely calmed down. I didn't detect any enemy chakra reaction. Behind a tree about 500 meters from where Gekko-han had captured the Iwa ninja Biwa, Haru said gravely to his companion Firelight. These two, along with Oishi, are characters from Kakashi Gaiden, captured. Upon hearing this, Firelight frowned and said softly, one of them is a Jonin, and the other a special Jonin. They were captured without even making a sound. Whoever captured them is probably not simple. The one who captured them is probably that Gekko-han. I can't sense his location. Let's retreat for now, Haru said. If he had underestimated Gekko-han before, after that bombing, he had deeply realized the terror of that 12-year-old Jinan. They were definitely no match for him. Okay, upon hearing this, Firelight immediately nodded in agreement, took out a signal flare, launched it into the sky, and then quietly retreated with Haru. Bang! The signal flare exploded in the sky, leaving behind a red firework. We've been spotted, hundreds of meters away in the forest, behind a large tree. The liquid-moving Moonlight Han quickly condensed into human form. After glancing at the red firework in the sky, he rushed towards the two Iwa ninja who had been watching him closely. At the same time, his hands transformed into Barrett rifles. It's a retreat signal, hidden in the canopy of a large tree. The two Iwa ninja saw the red signal flare illuminating the sky. Their expressions changed instantly, and they quickly shot out from the canopy. The red signal flare represented retreat, and also an emergency. In reconnaissance missions, it also meant being discovered by the enemy and in danger. Bang! Bang! Gunshots rang out from behind the tree a dozen meters away, and two bullets pierced their calves in the blink of an eye. Ah! Ah! Two screams rang out simultaneously. Amidst the splattering blood and flying calves, the two sand ninja who had just emerged from the canopy fell directly to the ground. Each of them had one leg severed by the immense force of the Barrett bullets and was thrown into the air. Whoosh! Moonlight Han swiftly swept past the two Iwa ninja who had fallen to the ground, his 4 fingers of his restored right hand aimed at them, and 4 tranquilizer darts shot into their bodies in the blink of an eye, silencing their screams. In the sky, drones relentlessly pursued the remaining 4 Iwa ninja. Perhaps startled by the gunfire, their escape speed was much faster than before. As expected of a Jonin, they run pretty fast, Moonlight Han scoffed, only chasing for a few steps before stopping helplessly. He turned and picked up the unconscious prisoner. Although Moonlight Han's speed had increased significantly after using the liquid robot template, and because he was completely devoid of flesh and blood, there was no chakra reaction from his body, his increased speed still placed him at the Jinan level. How could he possibly keep up with his Jonin Iwa ninja fleeing at full speed? Hyuga Tokugawa, Hyugami, Hyuga Yama, and all the ninja of the Moonlight Clan, all lightning release ninja, come with me immediately to provide support. The rest of you stay here, in the village. As a red signal flare exploded in the sky, Moonlight Hoshino shouted loudly, leading nearly 100 ninjas to rush up the mountain they had come from. He didn't know what the Iwa ninja's red signal flare meant, but he knew that since a red signal flare had exploded in the sky above the forest, it meant that Moonlight Han had been discovered and might be in danger. Not long after rushing into the mountain forest, Moonlight Hoshino and the Konoha ninjas he brought to provide support encountered Moonlight Han carrying 2 sand ninja. Han boy, are you alright? Moonlight Hoshino quickly asked, signaling the 2 ninjas to quickly take the prisoners carried by Moonlight Han, while carefully examining every part of Moonlight Han's body. Seeing that Moonlight Han's clothes were not even dirty, he breathed a sigh of relief. Tokugawa, there are 2 more prisoners over there, about 500 meters away. Take some men and bring them over. We'll go back, said Gekko-han, pointing in a direction. Yes. Upon hearing this, Hyuga Tokugawa immediately shouted his orders and led more than 10 men towards the place Gekko-han indicated. Uncle Hayama, arrange for everyone to rest immediately. Prepare for a secret departure at midnight. Gekko-han immediately ordered Gekko Hoshino after returning to the village. Yes. Upon hearing this, Hayama immediately replied and went to carry out Gekko-han's orders. Uncle Hoshino, interrogate these 4 guys with me. Arrange for the clan members to seal off the area and prevent anyone from approaching, Gekko-han said to Gekko Hoshino. No problem, Gekko Hoshino nodded. After finding a suitable house, Gekko Hoshino immediately arranged for the Gekko clan ninjas to guard the area. Then, together with Gekko-han and several others, he carried the 4 unconscious Iwe ninjas into the house, had their chakras sealed, and tied them to the rafters inside. "What are your names?" Moonlight Han woke the 4 Iwe ninja and asked coldly. Looking at Moonlight Han and Moonlight Hoshino in the room, the 4 Iwe ninja remained silent, their eyes fixed fiercely on Moonlight Han, as if they wanted to devour him alive. Such fierce gazes. "But you can't kill me with just your eyes." Looking at the 4 Iwe ninjas' fierce gazes, Moonlight Han sneered disdainfully. Several ice-like objects appeared in his hand, and he said with a sinister smile, "I know you are all rigorously trained ninjas with strong willpower, unafraid of cruel torture and death. Jinjutsu is useless against you, so I won't use ordinary methods. Do you know what this is? Before it, no matter how fierce you are, how strong your will is, you will become docile." HMPH, seeing this, Oishi merely snorted coldly, turning his head to the side, not even glancing at Moonlight Han's hands. As a reconnaissance ninja and a Jonin, he had undergone rigorous anti-torture training and wouldn't let curiosity break down his defenses. However, Yu Guanghan's eerie smile made him uneasy. "This is ice?" Seeing Oishi's lack of cooperation, Yu Guanghan simply smiled indifferently and said to himself, "I know this drug might not necessarily make you talk, but hypnosis is only one of its effects. Its main effect is to make you act involuntarily. Maybe your willpower is strong. If 1 isn't enough, take 2, if 2 aren't enough, take 3, if 1 hour isn't enough, then 2 hours, 3 hours. I wonder how long you can withstand it." Ice, a poison, belongs to the chemical technology within biochemical technology, details omitted to avoid accusations. HMPH, hearing this, the 4 Iwe ninja remained silent. Showing no fear. "Give them some, give them 1 first. Don't ask anything, don't pay them any attention. Don't let them commit suicide." Seeing this, Yu Guanghan handed the ice in his hand to Chunin from the Yu Guang clan. He said, "Then let me see how long you can hold out. I have plenty of time to wear you down." With that, Moonlight Han led Moonlight Hoshino out of the house. Chapter 60 Confusion. Night fell, and the bright moon hung high in the sky. "Move out." With Yu Guanghan's command, all the Konoha ninjas advanced at full speed, crossing the fields behind the village and disappearing into the vast darkness. Phew, finally gone. The villagers, secretly watching the Konoha ninjas disappear into the night from behind their windows, breathed a sigh of relief. They had thought these ninjas would kill them. In this time of war, foreign ninjas often massacred entire villages to ensure their whereabouts were not revealed. The next morning, a large group of Iwa ninjas crossed the ridge outside the village. "Sir, those Konoha ninjas were stationed in this village last night. Oishi and the other 3 were captured here by them, having just crossed the ridge and escaped back." Mahiro pointed to the village below and reported to Dong Siren. "Sir, there are only about 30 ordinary people's chakra fluctuations in the village. The Konoha ninjas have left." Mahiro's words had barely faded when a sensory ninja immediately reported the results to Dong Siren. "Taiga, take a team in and find out the whereabouts of those Konoha ninjas." Upon hearing this, Higashi immediately ordered one of the elite Jonin beside him. "Yes." Taiga immediately responded and led more than 20 ninjas towards the village at the foot of the mountain. "Sir, we learned from the villagers that those Konoha ninjas hurriedly left in the middle of the night last night, heading out through the fields behind the village. About 20 minutes later, the Iwe ninja named Taiga returned to the mountain with his men. Hurriedly left in the middle of the night. Do you know why? Could those villagers be lying to us?" Higashi frowned and asked. Taiga immediately replied, "I learned this from the villagers. Last night, those Konoha ninjas captured 4 of our ninjas and took them to the village chief's house for interrogation. Then, in the middle of the night, they all hurriedly left, including the 4 of our captured ninjas. It seems that someone among Oishi's group leaked some information." Upon hearing this, Hiruzen gritted his teeth and said, Dong Siren pondered. "Those Konoha ninjas left in a hurry in the middle of the night, likely because they had indeed obtained information from one of the 4 captured men. The reason they didn't kill them but took them away was probably to extract more information from the captives, or to make them living maps. So what information did the Konoha ninjas obtain? What information did they want? Most likely, it was the battlefield distribution of the Iwe ninjas. Besides that, the 4 of them knew very little other important information. And those Konoha ninjas, entering their rear without any intelligence, their biggest and easiest objective was to disrupt their rear and sabotage their logistics. The benefit of doing so would be to relieve the pressure on the Konoha troops, led by Jiraiya, at the front. "What did you do with those villagers?" Dong Siren asked. "Sir, they were all killed." Upon hearing this, Taiga immediately replied. "Why didn't they kill the villagers?" "More than 500 ninjas wouldn't make such a basic mistake," Mahiru said. "No, it's precisely because it's a basic mistake that it works to mislead us." Hearing this, Dong Siren shook his head and said, "Their goal is to get these villagers to pass on information to us, to confuse us, if that's their goal. Wouldn't it be easier to believe us if they killed most of the villagers and left a few as escapees? Besides, what's their purpose in misleading us? A group of 500 people can't possibly conceal their movements," Mo Zhi said. "These are two loopholes. This is also their deception tactic. With over 500 people, it's impossible for such a mistake to go unnoticed and unreported. They left all the villagers behind to let us know that this information was deliberately left behind, making it impossible for us to discern the truth of the information provided by the villagers. Perhaps their hasty departure in the middle of the night was also to mislead us, but we can't rule out the possibility that Oishi and the other three actually leaked information," Dong Siren said. He hadn't figured out the Konoha ninjas' purpose in misleading them either. The movements of 500 ninjas couldn't be concealed at all. They would inevitably leave clues, unless these Konoha ninjas could fly. It's possible that the captured Oishi 4 leaked information, but the possibility that they actually did cannot be ruled out. "Immediately contact nearby outposts using Ninja Hawks and have them change positions immediately," Dong Siren ordered. "If you can't figure it out, make the safest decision." "Yes, sir." Upon hearing this, a ninja immediately summoned 6 Ninja Hawks, wrote the encrypted information on them, and tied it to their legs. The Hawks were then released. "Continue the pursuit," Dong Siren continued, leading his troops towards the village at the foot of the mountain. They then passed through the village and entered the fields behind it, following the tracks left by the Konoha ninjas the previous night. "Sir, 2 Ninja Hawks are flying over," Hyugami, maintaining her Byakugan, reported to Yu Guanghan from the forest opposite the fields. Since last night, 3 Hyuga clan ninjas had been taking turns maintaining their Byakugan to observe the sky. These Iwa ninja have fallen for it. Record the flight path of these Ninja Hawks immediately." Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghan said with a smile, quickly leaping onto the canopy of a tree, one hand transforming into a Barrett rifle. He looked through the scope towards the village, searching for the approaching Ninja Hawks. With a liquid robot template, Yu Guanghan was finally able to make some expressions on his face. Found it. A dozen seconds later, Yu Guanghan spotted a small black dot flying in the sky. However, Yu Guanghan didn't act immediately, but instead materialized a silencer at the muzzle of the Barrett. He quickly calculated the wind direction and the speed of the Ninja Hawks. Bang! About 20 seconds later, a Ninja Hawk flew over everyone's heads, and the Barrett in Yu Guanghan's hand spat fire. The crimson bullet, precisely calculated, struck a Ninja Hawk flying 2,000 meters in the air at a speed of 970 meters per second, tearing it apart. In the sky, another Ninja Hawk, seeing its companion dead, frantically flapped its wings, attempting to fly back. Bang! 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 4 more gunshots rang out in succession, and 4 bullets turned into crimson beams that streaked across the sky. One of the bullets struck the wing of another panicked Ninja Hawk at the same altitude. Additionally, when a summoning beast dies, the contract disappears, but only the name on the contract scroll and the contractual connection with the ninja disappears. While the death of a few summoning beasts is sensed by the ninja who raised them, most summoning beast deaths are not. This is even less likely at long distances. Suppressor, universal, not limited to any type of firearm, but can only be used with firearms. For heavy firearms, the suppressor does not eliminate sound, only reduces it as much as possible. For a Barrett, the sound is still quite loud, and in a quiet environment, it can still travel at least 100 meters. Gecko Hand's true objective is these Ninja Hawks. Although these Ninja Hawks are trained, they cannot perform every task with the precision of humans. Except for a few hawks that fly to fixed locations, these hawks do not know the locations of most Iwa ninja strongholds, but the people who release the hawks do. They guide the hawks' direction when releasing them. After killing the hawks, Gecko Han can lead his troops directly to the Iwa ninja strongholds. Chapter 61 Stirring Up the Snake. Get across this field as quickly as possible. In the fields behind the village, Higashi no Shijin led over 800 Iwa ninja, shouting as they sprinted. They quickened their pace again. Soon after entering the field, Higashi no Shijin felt a sudden sense of foreboding. The deeper they went into the field, the stronger this premonition became. A veteran of many battles, he firmly believed in this premonition. In fact, Higashi no Shijin wasn't the only one feeling uneasy. Many of the Iwa ninja running alongside him shared the same feeling. Their increasingly anxious expressions showed that they were not a minority. However, the open field meant that even their wide-range sensory ninjas couldn't detect any danger or unusual activity nearby. Even the field birds and rodents only fled in fright after they arrived. Perhaps the danger came from elsewhere. This field was over 10 miles wide, but for ninjas, running across such a wide, unobstructed area would only take about 10 minutes, even with many Jinan slowing them down. The anxious Iwa ninja now only hoped to cross this wide field quickly, to find the cause of their unease, or for their premonition to subside. In truth, if Tsunagakure were here, they would never have entered this empty field, even if they hadn't found anything amiss. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, just as the unease in the eastern dead's heart grew, a series of whooshing sounds echoed in the sky, the screeching sound of something flying at high speed, friction against the air. Boom boom boom, before the Iwa ninja could even react to the sound, a series of violent explosions erupted among them. Accompanying the deafening explosions, the flames easily covered a 10-meter radius around them. The intensity of the explosions far surpassed that of the previous mortar fire. Flying shrapnel pierced their bodies, the flames and shockwaves of the explosions raging within them, tearing them apart and tossing them into the air like dolls. Earth release, earth wall. Amidst the successive explosions, the already uneasy Iwa ninja were prepared. Earthen walls rose from the ground, but compared to the limited power of the mortar shells last time, the 150mm cannon shells this time were clearly beyond the reach of a mere 30 to 40 centimeters thick earthen wall. These earthen walls shattered in the violent explosions, ironically amplifying their destructive force. Fragments of earth and stone flew everywhere, leaving the surrounding Iwa ninja bruised and battered. Damn Konoha ninja, earth release, earth flow wall. Seeing the powerful explosions that the earthen walls couldn't withstand continuing to devour the lives of his Iwa ninja, Higashi Shijin roared, rapidly forming hand seals and unleashing his full chakra. Whoosh, with Higashi Shijin's ninjutsu, the earth began to tremble, and a massive earthen wall, 5 meters wide, 15 meters high, and nearly 50 meters long, rose from the ground, standing like a city wall in front of the numerous Iwa ninja. Earth release, earth flow wall. As the first earthen wall rose, several more similar earthen walls followed, connecting to protect all the Iwa ninja behind them. Boom, 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 boom. Explosions continued, but this time they couldn't damage the thicker earthen walls, only leaving large craters 2 to 3 meters high and about a meter deep. Crack, crack, crack. After a temporary period of safety, Dong Siren, seeing his team suffer another heavy loss, clenched his fists tightly, making a cracking sound. Looking at the severed limbs of his comrades and the shattered earthen walls, his anger surged wildly. As the commander, Dong Siren wasn't swayed by his rage, he simply cursed inwardly. He cursed Tsunagakure, cursed the Moonlight Han, cursed the Konoha ninja, and analyzed the current situation. There are so many earth-released ninjas from Iwagakure in the land of earth. Looking at the earthen walls that had blocked the artillery fire, Gecko Han cursed, turning 10 steel cannons into scattered dirt. Continue, Gecko Han shouted, leading his troops away quickly. Damn Konoha ninjas. Damn Gecko Han, everyone, get out underground, Dong Si cursed under his breath. Although the artillery fire had stopped, he dared not lead his troops any further across the wide fields. Who knew if Gecko Han was still waiting for them to reveal themselves? Sensory ninjas couldn't detect Gecko Han's location at all. Gecko Han's bloodline limit attack range was too far, the power too strong, and the speed too fast for them to react to. They simply couldn't chase him, couldn't charge him. No wonder those bastards from Tsunagakure went to such lengths to force this person to their Iwagakure side. Suffering another heavy loss only intensified his hatred for Tsunagakure. As evening fell, after a long day's march, Yu Guanghan finally led his troops to a stream and stopped at sunset. My lord, this is the 10th trap within 500 meters. The traps are increasing, and the Iwa ninja stronghold should be within a few miles, Kimura Tokoi respectfully reported to Yu Guanghan after watching the ninja dismantle another trap. He couldn't help but admire Yu Guanghan, although only 12 years old. He had already devised a method to calculate the location of the Iwa ninja's stronghold based on the flight direction of the ninja hawks. They are indeed nearby, Yu Guanghan nodded. He summoned 3 members of the Hyuga clan and ordered, immediately use your Byakugan to scout the surrounding area as wide as possible, and see if there are any hidden Iwa ninja or their strongholds. Yes. Upon hearing this, the 3 members of the Hyuga clan immediately responded, formed a hand seal, and used their Byakugan to scout the surrounding area with all their might. No Iwa ninja found within a 2-kilometer radius. 5 minutes later, the 3 shook their heads at Gekkohan in unison. Since we haven't found any, let's alert them and wait for them to come to us, Gekkohan said, raising his arm which transformed into a mortar, and fired 4 mortar shells diagonally into the sky. Boom! The explosions echoed through the forest 2 miles away, the sound carrying far and wide. Then, Gekkohan fired 3 more mortar shells in the opposite direction. The sound of the explosions reached this location but not the other. Keep an eye on the direction of the explosions, and report immediately if you spot any Iwa ninja, Gekkohan commanded the 3, including Hyuga Tokugawa, after restoring his arm to its original position. Yes, sir, the 3 immediately responded, maintaining their Byakugan and keeping a close watch on the directions of the 2 explosions. Are they still refusing to confess anything? Gekkohan asked Gekko Hoshino. They're stubborn. Even though they're delirious and trembling, they still haven't said anything, and we couldn't get anything out of them with Jinjutsu. Gekko Hoshino replied immediately. Moonlight Han was asking about the 4 captured Iwa ninja. Double their quantity, Moonlight Han said. Okay, Moonlight Hoshino nodded. He took the ice offered by Moonlight Han and turned to leave. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Surprise Attack 1. Sir, 8 Iwa ninja have appeared in the southwest, including 2 boys. They're coming from the southwest and will be reaching the explosion site soon. About 5 minutes later, Hyuga Tokugawa excitedly reported to Yu Guanghan. Everyone stand up. Prepare for battle. Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghan, who was resting against a large tree, immediately stood up and shouted. Whoosh! Hearing Yu Guanghan's command, the Konoha ninja who were resting on the spot all quickly stood up. They were all eager to fight, waiting for Yu Guanghan to give the next order. Target, southwest, about 2 miles away. Number of people, 8. I want the 6 Iwa ninja boys alive. Beware of traps. Everyone, move out immediately. Looking at the eager team, Yu Guanghan immediately gave the order. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, with Yu Guanghan's command, the Konoha ninja immediately turned into a series of afterimages and disappeared into the forest, leaving only 61 ninja behind. 50 of them were Gekkohan's lightning-released ninja guard, along with 3 ninjas from the Hyuga clan. The remaining 8 were all Jonin and Gekkohan himself. Kid Han isn't sending almost everyone to capture 8 people a bit of an overreaction, Gekko Hoshino said. He wasn't questioning the correctness of Gekkohan's order. Gekkohan had already proven his tactical abilities were quite good. He was wondering what Gekkohan's intention was in issuing such an order. Those 8 people should be 2 Jinan squads and their instructors. We should be able to extract some minor information from those Jinan, but it's not worth sending everyone. The direction they came from should be roughly in the direction of their base, and their location shouldn't be more than 3 miles from where the explosion occurred. However, we still don't know their exact location, so I'm sending everyone out for a thorough search. I want to take that base swiftly. Let's go too. Hearing this, Gekkohan said with a smile. With a wave of his hand, he led the remaining 60 men to catch up with the main force that had set off earlier. Besides the explosion, there are no traces. The explosion was incredibly powerful, at least 3 times more powerful than a regular explosive tag. It also had a strong destructive force and a wide kill radius, but it wasn't caused by an explosive tag, nor was it an explosion release technique. It must be some kind of composite ninjutsu. 2 Iwa ninja, Chunin, examined the damage caused by the explosion and shared their analysis with their companions, who were also the students diligently studying nearby. Behind them, 6 Iwa Jinan listened attentively to their instructor's analysis of the scene, taking careful notes and observing the damage closely, combining their instructor's analysis with the actual situation. There were 4 craters on the ground, each half a meter in diameter. The shockwave covered an area of 7 or 8 meters. The trees nearby were damaged by scattered shrapnel, and the petrified shrapnel inside indicated that the explosion was not only powerful and wide-ranging, but also had a much larger kill radius, far more dangerous than an explosive tag, which doesn't have shrapnel damage. There's no trace of anyone else within 100 meters, and it couldn't have been a trap we set. So how did these explosions happen? After a careful inspection, the two Iwa ninja team leaders exchanged glances, simultaneously voicing their biggest question. Master, my bees tell me there are ninjas coming from the east, a lot of them. Just as the two Iwa ninja were racking their brains trying to figure out the cause of the explosions, one of their students, a young boy, suddenly cried out in alarm to them. Black Bee, how many ninjas? Black Bee, how much further? Hearing this, the two Iwa ninjas' hearts tightened, and they quickly asked. It turned out that this boy was a member of the Kamimazu clan. The Kamimazu clan was also a renowned insect-controlling clan in the ninja world, belonging to Iwagakure. They were an extremely skilled clan in breeding various bees and commanding bees in battle. However, during the Second Shinobi World War, the Kamimazu clan was defeated by the Aburim clan of Konoha, and almost all of their members were wiped out, leading to their decline. I don't know how many there are. My bee only tells me there are many, at least 100 ninjas. They're less than 300 meters away now, Black Bee said quickly upon hearing this. Damn it, it's a ninja force, it's too late to retreat. Hide immediately. Upon hearing this, the two chunin leading the group paled. They ordered their disciples and then used earth release to hide underground. They couldn't be sure if this ninja force was one of their own. If not, and they were infiltrated Konoha ninjas, today would likely be their death day. After all, they were only 2 chunin and 6 shinin. Seeing this, their disciples also used their skills to hide, concealing their hiding places, not daring to even breathe. Whoosh whoosh, less than 10 seconds after the 8 Iwa ninjas hid, the sound of air being cut through rang out one after another, and figures wearing light green or dark green ninja vests appeared one after another. It's Konoha ninjas, damn it, how can there be so many Konoha ninjas? This is clearly the rear of the battlefield. How did these Konoha ninjas get here? Are the people on the front lines incompetent? They actually let so many Konoha ninja infiltrate, or did the front lines lose? Seeing the constantly appearing green figures, the hearts of the 8 hidden Iwa ninja sank to the bottom. There weren't just 100 or so, there were at least 300 or 400 Konoha ninja, most of them chunin, the few jinin who looked elite, and even a few jonin. This was a force they couldn't possibly contend with. What made them even more desperate was that these Konoha ninja had actually stopped right there. Thud 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 thud. Before the two Iwa chunin could even think of an escape plan, 6 muffled thuds rang out in the forest. 6 inexperienced Iwa jinin were knocked unconscious and thrown from their hiding place almost simultaneously. We've been discovered. Seeing their disciples all found by these Konoha ninja at almost the same time, the two Iwa chunin hiding underground were terrified. Not daring to gamble, they immediately crawled out from underground, wanting to escape westward as quickly as possible. At the same time, one of them pulled out a signal flare and detonated it, sending red and black smoke billowing into the air. All the disciples had been discovered. These Konoha ninjas would definitely search the area. There was definitely more than one sensory ninja among these 300 or 400 Konoha ninjas. Even if they hid underground, they would be found. Faced with this unfavorable situation, the two acted decisively. Water dragon bullet technique. A thick water dragon flew through the air, swallowing the smoke bomb before it even reached the forest. Whoosh, whoosh, figures flashed, and 2 Iwa ninjas trying to escape were instantly surrounded by dozens of Konoha ninjas. Several jonin gave them no chance whatsoever, charging forward and easily capturing them in less than 5 seconds. Take them and continue the westward assault. Their base shouldn't be far away. With this order, amidst the despairing gazes of the two Iwa chunin, the 400 or 500 Konoha ninjas once again rushed westward, towards the direction of their base. Chapter 63 Raid 2. Sir, we've spotted those Iwa ninjas. They're at 11 o'clock, 1,500 meters away, hidden underground. There are plenty of supplies, and about 40 of them. Hyuga Tokugawa reported to Gekko-han during the raid. It's a supply depot. That solves our supply problem for now. Be careful during the battle, try not to damage the supplies. Hearing this, Gekko-han laughed and shouted. Uncle Shirakumo Hayato, immediately take 15 elite ninjas and rush over. Make sure to seize their supply depot first to prevent them from resorting to desperate measures and destroying the supplies. Gekko-han ordered Shirakumo Hayato. I'll help you draw some of their forces away. Yes, Ian, Moses, you take your men and follow me. Hearing this, Shirakumo Hayato immediately accepted the order, naming 2 Jonin and leading 12 Chunin to quickly rush towards the Iwen ninja's stronghold. Chunin are divided into ordinary Chunin and elite Chunin. Some weaker ordinary Chunin can't even defeat some elite Jonin, such as Iruka. Some elite Chunin are even close to ordinary Jonin in strength, but they haven't been promoted to higher rank because they lack certain skills. Jonin are divided into special Jonin, ordinary Jonin, and elite Jonin. Special Jonin are about the same strength as most elite Chunin, but they are promoted to special Jonin because of their outstanding abilities in a certain area and their achievements in that area. Kyorna Iyuhi, who just started leading the team, is this type, and was later promoted to Jonin. Ordinary Jonin are strong and have enough achievements. Hayashi Shirakumo is one of the stronger ones in this type. Elite Jonin are excellent in all aspects, and even have the ability to lead and command troops in battle, or have very strong strength in a certain area, some even reaching cage level, such as the legendary Sanin, Might Guy, Kakashi, and Rosa. This type is very rare. After Hayashi Shirakumo rushed out, Gekko-han raised his hands and transformed them into 90mm mortars. Bang bang bang, with a series of muffled thuds, more than a dozen mortar shells were rapidly fired in a direction 3 kilometers away. At the same time, several drones quickly flew towards the location reported by Hyuga Tokugawa. Boom boom boom, a series of explosions rang out to the west of the Iwen ninja base. The loud explosions could be clearly heard even from more than a mile away. The traps to the west have been triggered on a large scale. Such a dense explosion, there must be quite a few. It's very likely that the enemy has infiltrated, in the Iwen ninja's hidden base, in a cave with an exit only 2 meters high. The Iwen ninja instantly became fully alert. All eyes were on the middle-aged man sitting on a supply crate at the very back of the cave. Scorched earth, take squad 5 to check immediately. If it's the enemy, find a way to eliminate them or lure them away. This place absolutely cannot be discovered by the Konoha ninja, the middle-aged Iwen ninja ordered. Yes. Upon hearing this, an Iwen ninja with a bear-like build and 2 hideous scars on his face immediately stood up and said this. After casually nodding to a few people, he left the cave exit. Buzz, after Jiao-2 let 15 ninjas out, a large bumblebee flapped its wings and flew into the cave, landing in front of one of the elders. It flew around in front of the elder in a strange trajectory. Lord Ryuko, my bee reports that ninjas are coming from the east. About 15 in number. Looking at the trajectory of his bee, the elder immediately reported to the middle-aged Iwen ninja sitting on the supply box. East, a feint attack. It seems that the 2 teams we sent out to scout the situation have already encountered the enemy. Our location has been determined by the enemy. Upon hearing this, Ryuko, sitting on the supply box, analyzed, stood up and walked outside, giving the order, Iwako, Fudo, you 2 squads stay to guard the supplies. The rest of you come with me to meet the enemy. Yes. Upon hearing this, a large number of ninjas in the Iwen ninja base followed Ryuko out of the base and headed east. My lord, the Iwen ninja have emerged from their cave, 20 in total, and are heading towards Lord Hayama and his men, in the forest. Hyuga Tokugawa reported to Gekko-han. Uncle Hoshino, Kimura Takuya, each of you take 200 ninja and flank them from both sides. Kill any who resist. Absolutely do not let them escape back to their base. Upon hearing this, Gekko-han immediately gave the order. Yes, sir. Upon hearing this, Gekko Hoshino and Kimura Takuya immediately led 200 men each from both sides. Gekko-han, however, led his guards and the remaining 100 ninja to attack the Iwen ninja head-on. Boom, clang. In the forest 500 meters from the Iwen ninja's base, the sounds of exploding tags, clashing kunai, and slashing swords echoed continuously. Nearby trees collapsed under the howling of wind release, the impact of earth release, the burning of fire release, and the shock of water release. At the same time, screams of agony rang out. You're all elite ninjas of Konoha? Konoha really spares no expense. Aren't you afraid you won't make it back? Watching the Jonin die one after another, Ryuko, while fighting off the combined attacks of Hakuai and Heiamori and another Jonin, mocked them. HMPH. Since we're here, we're not afraid of not getting back. You're the one who should be worried. It's only a matter of time before you and these Jonin are defeated. After exchanging a blow with Ryuko, Hokuai and Heiamari retorted sarcastically. Although there were 21 Iwa ninjas, 10 of them were Jonin-level young ninjas. On their side, there were not only 3 Jonin, but the remaining 13 were all elite Chunin, each with considerable fighting strength. This is our Iwa rear. The commotion here will soon attract more Iwa ninjas. You're all doomed, Ryuko said with a cold laugh, completely unmoved by Hokuai and Heiamari's words. As elite ninjas capable of leading a team, their mental fortitude was very high. Even if Hokuai and Heiamari's words were true, they wouldn't show the slightest fear. Then I hope they arrive soon so we can wipe them out all at once, said Hakun Hayato with a cold laugh, his long sword slashing incessantly. Do you even have the strength? You'll be the ones getting wiped out, Ryu sneered, his kunai flashing as he parried Hakun Hayato's sword, sparks flying from the impact. His other hand was dealing with the kunai attacks of another Konoha Jonin, Ikumo. Lord Ryu, my bees have detected a large number of Konoha ninja. At least 300, just then, a terrified shout rang out in the forest. Kamisa Ryu Hornet, his face filled with fear, frantically maneuvered his bees to fend off the attack of Konoha Jonin Moses, while quickly fleeing towards the edge of the battlefield. Hearing the shout, Ryu's pupils constricted sharply. But he quickly regained his composure to deal with the attacks of Hakun Hayato and Ikumo. However, while Ryu could remain calm, the other Iwa ninjas lacked the same mental fortitude. 3 Iwa ninjas were immediately distracted and killed. Do you still think we lack the strength? I truly hope your reinforcements arrive soon, Hakun Hayami sneered, intensifying his attacks. Everyone, retreat towards the base immediately, Ryutama shouted, roaring as he tried to force Hakun Hayami and Ikumo to retreat. Lord Han has ordered that no Iwa ninja be allowed to leave them all here, Hakun Hayami shouted back, joining Ikumo in intensifying their attack, giving Ryutama no chance to escape. Chapter 64 Raid 3. 500 meters is only a 3-minute walk for ninjas, even in the forest. Whoosh, 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 in the blink of an eye, 400 figures in green vests burst forth from the forest, surrounding the still fighting group and completely blocking their retreat. Kamisa Ryu Hornet, who had initially fled, was forced to return under the encirclement of the Konoha ninjas. Baka, seeing hundreds of Konoha ninjas suddenly appear from all directions and completely surround them, Ryu finally managed to retreat and escape from Hakun Hayato after exchanging another blow. Hakun Hayato didn't pursue, simply watching him silently. The other Konoha ninjas also stopped fighting and retreated to the sidelines, looking at the 10 remaining Iwa ninjas surrounded in the middle. Lord Ryu, what do we do now? My Kamasu Ryu clan will fight to the death, Kamasu Ryu Hornet said to Ryu. Fight to the death, the other Iwa ninjas shouted, displaying a fierce determination to die. Ha ha ha, hearing the shouts of the remaining Iwa ninja, Ryuko laughed loudly, saying, brothers, you're all great. It's worth dying with us. Konoha ninja, come on, let's have a good fight, you're a veteran ninja who participated in the Second Shinobi World War. Don't you want to go back to see your families alive? Cold words rang out from outside the Konoha ninja's encirclement. The Konoha ninja surrounding the Iwa ninja immediately made way. Gecko Han, with his guards and Hyuga Tokugawa, stepped forward. Whoever it is, as long as you give up resistance, you'll have this opportunity. You're the Konoha commander of this force, right? I didn't expect you to be just a kid. Is Konoha out of talent? Ha ha ha, Ryuko laughed mockingly as he watched Gecko Han being protected by numerous Konoha ninja as he walked to the front. You're wasting your life, Gecko Han said coldly. If I go back alive, I'm afraid I won't have the face to see them, so you'll die with us. Brothers, I believe in you. Before Yu Guang'an could finish speaking, Liu Tang shouted and charged towards him, his hands constantly forming hand seals. Although he didn't have any information about Yu Guang'an, Liu Tang knew that this boy, protected by numerous ninjas and capable of commanding hundreds of ninjas in battle, was definitely an extremely important genius for Konoha. Charge! Kill the kid, led by Liu Tang. The remaining Iwa ninjas also grabbed their weapons and roared as they charged towards Yu Guang'an, their hands frantically forming hand seals. Protect the master. In the face of the sudden change, Kimura Tokuya and Hyuga Tokugawa were the first to stand in front of Yu Guang'an. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the Konoha ninjas surrounding the Iwa ninjas fired their kunai at the Iwa ninjas who were willing to die. Rat-a-tat-tat, gunshots rang out like firecrackers. Moonlight Han was even faster, crimson bullets whizzed past Kimura Tokuya and Hyuga Tokugawa, piercing the bodies of Iwa ninja one after another in the blink of an eye, drawing streams of bright red blood. The hand seals they were performing were interrupted by the bullets. Their charge towards Moonlight Han slowed rapidly due to the immense pain and the loss of life. Thud 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 thud, the sounds of blades piercing flesh echoed continuously as over 400 kunai, fired from all directions, pierced the bodies of the Iwa ninja, taking away their last vestiges of life. Cough, thud. Bright red blood spurted from Ryu's mouth. The remaining strength in his body could no longer support his burly frame as he collapsed on his knees, and the Iwa ninja who had charged alongside him also fell. How could it be so fast? You are Konoha's #1 genius, Gecko Han. On the Sand Village battlefield, looking at Gecko Han, who was only 10 meters away, Ryuko said weakly, yes, among Konoha's young geniuses, only you can command so many Konoha ninjas in battle. After saying that, Ryuko glared and fell silent. He didn't even fall completely in death, he's a real man. Seal their corpses and send them back to Awakens later. Looking at the dead Ryuko, Gecko Han ordered the ninjas around him. His body's surface rippled like water, shimmering with silver light. A few seconds later, Gecko Han had transformed into the heavily wounded Ryuko before his death, showing no flaws. You all form an ambush around the outer perimeter, surround the Iwagakure stronghold, and wait for the Iwagakure ninjas who left earlier to enter the trap. I'll go to their stronghold alone, Gecko Han ordered, and quickly walked towards the Iwagakure stronghold. Clean up the battlefield and seal these Iwagakure ninja corpses in scrolls. Bayun Zaojian quickly made the arrangements. Gecko Hoshino and Kimura Takuya each led the previously commanded 200 ninjas and one Hyuga clan ninja away to set up an ambush as instructed by Gecko Han. Lord Ryuko, when Gecko Han, disguised as Ryuko, stumbled into the Iwa ninja's underground base, the 8 sand ninjas left behind widened their eyes in panic. Only Ryuko had returned, and he was so badly injured. This enemy was formidable. Destroy the supplies immediately and retreat. We absolutely cannot leave any supplies for the enemy. Upon seeing the 8 ninjas in the Iwa ninja's underground base, Gecko Han, disguised as Ryuko, ordered. At the same time, his gaze swept across the underground cave, imprinting everything into his electronic eyes. The materials here had already been affixed with explosive tags, seemingly recently. Clearly, if the situation became dire, these Iwa ninjas would destroy the supplies. Yes. Everyone, retreat. Upon hearing this, an Iwa ninja Chunin immediately ordered, but before he could even begin, the transformed Moonlight Mantis collapsed to the ground, as if it could no longer withstand its injuries. Sir, seeing the mantis fall, several Iwa ninjas quickly ran to its side, trying to lift it up. They didn't doubt the authenticity of the person before them, because the enemy wouldn't allow them to destroy supplies before retreating. Rat-a-tat-tat, the next moment, gunfire erupted in the cave, bullets mercilessly killing several Iwa ninjas who rushed over in a panic, as well as the only 2 Chunin remaining in the cave. You're not, looking at the mantis, whose limbs had transformed into light machine guns, an Iwa Chunin said unwillingly, struggling to raise his hands to form hand seals to detonate the explosive tags on the supplies. Rat-a-tat, several gunshots rang out, and the Iwa Chunin's hands fell limply to the ground. In death, his hands never touched. These are all strategic materials. After killing the Iwa ninja in the cave, Yu Guanghan returned to normal and carefully examined the supplies inside, 1.5 kilometers west of the Iwa ninja stronghold. Iwa Jonin Jiao-Tu was leading his men to examine the surrounding explosion traces, his brow furrowed. Because apart from the explosion traces and the traces they had left behind, they couldn't find any other traces. It wasn't an explosion caused by a trap they had set, it was as if these explosions appeared out of thin air. Lord Jiao-Tu, there are strange noises coming from the stronghold, an Iwa ninja reported to Jiao-Tu. In fact, not only him, but the other Iwa ninjas had also heard gunfire coming from the stronghold. The gunfire echoed in the cave, making it even louder. Damn it, this is a diversionary tactic by the enemy. We'll go to the stronghold to provide support immediately, Jiao-Tu shouted, rushing towards the stronghold first. Lord Hoshino, Lord Han has dealt with the remaining Iwa ninja in the cave. The sand ninja who left earlier are heading towards the base, a total of 16, south of the Iwa ninja base, Hyugami reported to Gecko Hoshino. Lord Kimura Takuya, Lord Han has dealt with the remaining Iwa ninja in the cave. The sand ninja who left earlier are heading towards the base, a total of 16, north of the Iwa ninja base, Hyuga reported to Kimura Takuya. Close the trap immediately. Don't let a single Iwa ninja escape. At the same time, Gecko Hoshino and Kimura Takuya, in different directions, breathed a sigh of relief and immediately gave the order. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. With the order, the Konoha ninja immediately sped up their movements. They didn't waste time encountering places they suspected were traps, simply making a mark before avoiding the area within 10 meters of the trap and continuing forward. Lord Hayama, Lord Kimura Takuya and Lord Hoshino's teams have sped up. At the site of the previous battle with the Iwa ninja, Hyuga Tokugawa reported to Hayama. Set off immediately for the Iwa ninja stronghold. Upon hearing this, Hayama immediately gave the order and led his team on a swift departure. Although the Iwa ninja would set up traps around their stronghold, they wouldn't set up too many, and most were for warning purposes, with limited destructive power. After all, this was the rear of the Iwa ninja battlefield, and they would make some special markings that only the Iwa ninja understood. Otherwise, they might have killed many of their own men. Chapter 65 The Iwa ninja who would rather die. Damn it. How can there be so many Konoha ninjas? When Jiao-2 led his Iwa ninjas to the base, they found hundreds of Konoha ninjas already standing outside the entrance. They quickly hid, but it was too late. The Konoha ninja's eyes were already on them. We're doomed, and Iwa Jinan mumbled, his legs trembling. So many Konoha ninjas, most of them wearing ninja vests. Jinan didn't have them. Perhaps Chunin and Joinin might have the chance to escape, but as a Jinan, he had no chance. Just one or two Chunin among these Konoha ninjas could easily capture and kill them. These low-level Jinan, kill them. Don't worry about our numbers, and don't worry about us being stronger than them. At the entrance of the Iwa ninja cave base, looking at Jiao-2 who had rushed back with his men, Yu Guanghan ordered. Kill. At Yu Guanghan's command, the more than 100 Konoha ninjas standing at the cave entrance roared and charged towards the hidden Iwa ninjas, including Jiao-2. Their momentum was overwhelming, as ferocious as piranhas fighting for flesh. Damn it, retreat immediately. Someone has to escape. Seeing the large number of Konoha ninjas charging towards them, Jiao-2 quickly gave the order and turned to flee first. With so many Konoha ninjas, they had no chance of retaking the stronghold, or even destroying the supplies. He didn't even consider covering his comrades' retreat, because facing more than 100 enemy ninjas, even he himself would have difficulty escaping, let alone the remaining Chunin and Jinan. Hearing this, seeing Jiao-2 flee first, the remaining 15 Iwa ninjas also immediately fled desperately in the direction they had come from. Fire release, fire dragon bullet, fire release, flame bullet. However, before the remaining 15 Iwa ninjas had run far, flames erupted along their path, and hundreds of kunai, gleaming coldly, danced in the forest. No, the desperate roar of Jiao-2, who had been the first to flee, echoed amidst the flames. Whoosh, 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 figures flashed through the surrounding forest, the wind whistling. One by one, Konoha ninja appeared on the surrounding tree trunks, quickly filing them and surrounding them. Many had already formed hand seals, aiming at them. It turned out that, with a Byakugan constantly monitoring the Iwa ninjas' movements, by the time these Iwa ninja reached their base, Gecko Hoshino and Konoha Takuya had already completed their ambush formation and sealed it. It's over. How could so many Konoha ninja have infiltrated? Why didn't we get any information? What are those 10,000 plus people on the front lines doing? Teacher, I don't want to die. Looking at the Konoha ninja surrounding them, the remaining 15 Iwa ninja were filled with despair, cursing bitterly. We'd rather die than betray the village, one of the Iwa Chunin shouted, pulling out more than 10 explosive tags from his ninja tool pouch and raising them high. Sizzle sizzle sizzle, the explosive tags had already been ignited. Retreat. Seeing this, Moonlight Hoshino and Kimura Takuya shouted simultaneously, quickly leading their subordinate ninjas in a retreat. At the same time, earthen walls rose from the ground, and wind and fire release techniques were unleashed all at once towards the Iwa ninja who wanted to self-destruct. I'm sorry, Aiko, it's the teacher who's sorry, Darayu. The other 4 Chunin Iwa ninjas' gazes hardened upon seeing this. They also took out explosive tags and pulled their students to their sides. Boom, a distant explosion erupted in the forest, shaking the earth. Smoke and flames from the explosion shot high into the sky, reaching 100 meters in height. The explosion covered a 50-meter radius around the ground, and trees within 150 meters were blown down and blown away by the powerful shockwave. Uncle Hea, Immediately take men and come with me to rescue the wounded." Seeing the distant explosion in the forest, Moonlight Hand's expression became uneasy. He immediately gave the order and rushed towards the explosion site first. The militarized management of the Iwa ninja. "I'll have to be careful of them pulling this tactic again in the next operation," Yu Guanghan thought to himself. Take a head count immediately and rescue the wounded. Near the explosion site, Yu Guangxingai and Kimura Takuya shouted orders while quickly surveying the scene, searching for any potentially injured or dead. Fortunately, they had immediately ordered a retreat upon realizing the situation was dire, and their ninjutsu had also helped to mitigate the blast, so far there seemed to be no major casualties. "How is the situation? Where are Yu Guangxingai and Kimura Takuya?" 2 minutes later, Yu Guanghan arrived with his men. Looking at the traces left by the violent explosion, Yu Guanghan quickly pulled over a ninja who was searching through fallen trees and asked, "Lord Han, the head count is complete. 27 people are injured, at least 3 are seriously injured. No dead have been found yet, and 3 are still missing." Seeing that it was Yu Guanghan who had pulled him, the Konoha ninja quickly pointed in a direction and answered. "Lord Hoshino and Lord Takuya are helping to treat the wounded over there." "I understand," said Gekko Han, then instructed Hyuga Tokugawa. "Hyuga Tokugawa, take everyone and search immediately." With that, Gekko Han headed alone in the direction the Konoha ninja had pointed. "How are the wounded?" Soon, Gekko Han arrived at a group of wounded and found Gekko Hoshino and Kimura Takuya. The lightly wounded have been bandaged and the bleeding stopped. The 4 seriously wounded are receiving emergency treatment there, but I'm afraid. Hearing this, Gekko Hoshino said with a grave expression, not finishing his sentence. Gekko Han understood what Gekko Hoshino was implying. There were indeed medical ninjas and a few people with medical ninjutsu in the group. But there were only 4 or 5, and they were all only half-baked. For the 4 seriously injured, they could probably only delay their recovery. Hearing this, Gekko Han looked towards the place Gekko Hoshino had pointed to, a cleared area where a group of people were quietly gathered. "Uncle Hoshino, come with me. Kimura Takuya, go arrange for the lightly wounded." After a moment of silence, Yu Guanghan said, quickly walking towards the seriously wounded. "Everyone, disperse. Establish a 50-meter perimeter. Without my order, no one is allowed to approach this area, nor are they allowed to look in this direction." Upon reaching the area surrounded by the crowd, Yu Guanghan immediately gave the order. Hearing this, and seeing that it was Yu Guanghan, the surrounding ninjas immediately dispersed, establishing a 50-meter perimeter. Only 4 ninjas who knew some medical ninjutsu remained to delay the wounded's healing. "Master," on the ground, a seriously wounded Konoha ninja looked at Yu Guanghan and weakly called out, "It was an honor to fight alongside you, Master, but I cannot continue fighting with you from now on. Don't speak. Since you still have a breath left, you won't die today," Yu Guanghan said, squatting down beside the Konoha ninja. Chapter 4. Chapter 66 Rescue. "My lord," on the ground, a heavily wounded Konoha ninja weakly called out to Yu Guanghan, saying, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to fight alongside you, but I can no longer fight with you. Don't speak. Since you still have a breath left, you won't die today," Yu Guanghan said, squatting down beside the Konoha ninja. He added, "My bloodline limit isn't just for killing, it can save lives too." With that, Yu Guanghan removed the liquid robot template, reinstalled the blood robot template, and then took out a sharp kunai, slashing his own palm. Han boy, seeing Yu Guanghan's self-harm, Yu Guangxingai was immediately worried. "Don't worry," Yu Guanghan interrupted Yu Guangxingai, placing his slash palm on the wound of the heavily wounded ninja. In Yu Guanghan's palm, a black substance flowed, continuously flowing from the wound in his hand into the wounded ninja's wound under his control. If Orochimaru or Tsunade were here, their eyes would surely light up. As the black substance in Moonlight Hand's palm flowed into the injured person's wound, the wound began to heal rapidly, and the speed increased quickly. Not only the skin and flesh, but even the internal organs were healing rapidly. It was as if countless tiny threads, invisible to the naked eye, were perfectly stitching the wound together, and even broken bones were being repaired. Because the quantity was small and not inside the protagonist's body, the repair speed was much slower. "My lord," feeling his body healing rapidly, the heavily injured ninja looked at Moonlight Han with gratitude. He wanted to stop him, but with hope of life, he couldn't bear to give up. As the one being healed, he knew the price Moonlight Han would have to pay. His own internal organs were damaged, and he was almost left to die. This was an ability that could almost bring the dead back to life and heal bones, which must have consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, now that it had been exposed, he didn't know how many people would covet it, how many people would target Moonlight Hand's ability, and even in future battles, enemies would target it. Finally, the severely injured ninja, tears streaming down his face, could only sob, "From now on, my life, Kazumatoru's, belongs to you, sir, Han boy." Moonlight Hoshino looked at Moonlight Han with even greater worry. He hadn't expected Moonlight Han to possess such a life-saving ability. If he hadn't been unaware of this ability beforehand, and if it weren't too late to stop him now, he would have intervened. This was Moonlight Han's trump card, and the exposure of such a powerful ability would undoubtedly attract the greed of countless people. Enough with these sentimental words. "Your life is saved, others are waiting," Moonlight Han said. After completely stabilizing Kazumatoru's injuries, he stopped the treatment, guiding the blood robot from the wounds that had already healed considerably, allowing it to flow back into the wound on his own hand. He then rose and walked towards the next severely injured Konoha ninja. Although the blood robot could completely heal wounds, Moonlight Han hadn't fully cured Kazumatoru's injuries. After all, if this ability proved too powerful, not only himself, but also the rest of the Moonlight clan would be targeted. "My lord," seeing Yu Guanghan approach, the ninja whose injuries had been delayed by the medical ninja looked at him with gratitude and expectation. "Don't speak," Yu Guanghan interrupted, using a kunai to reopen his already healed hand and then placing it on the wounded man's wound. "No one is allowed to tell anyone about what happened today, or my Yu Guang clan will never let him off," Yu Guang Hoshino warned the ninjas who witnessed this, watching Yu Guanghan treat his comrade. "My lord, the remaining 3 have been found. One of them was knocked unconscious in the explosion but is not seriously injured. The other 2 perished," Kimura Takuya reported to the weakened Yu Guanghan 15 minutes later. "Collect the bodies of the dead and rest for half an hour before setting off," Yu Guanghan ordered. "Yes," Kimura Takuya immediately responded and went to make the arrangements. The people at this base didn't evacuate beforehand. They didn't even have time to destroy the supplies. The attack was by the Konoha ninja force led by Moonlight Han, around 9 in the morning. At dusk, at the entrance to the Iwa ninja's cave base, East Dead Man emerged from the cave and said with a headache. The Konoha ninja had obtained the supplies here. "Did we already have the ninja hawks relay the message, telling them to evacuate? And how did those Konoha ninja find the space so accurately? Did Oishi and the others really leak the information?" Hearing this, Demon Leech asked suspiciously. They had followed the Konoha ninja's trail all the way here. The Konoha ninja had taken almost no detours, practically heading straight for this base. And why hadn't the people at this base evacuated beforehand? Could it be that the ninja hawks hadn't found this place, and they hadn't received the message? "I understand, the ninja hawks relaying the message leaked the location of this base," East Dead Man said. "Moonlight Han possesses extremely long-range attack capabilities. Those Konoha ninjas must have found their way based on the flight direction of the ninja hawks, and Moonlight Han killed the hawks, which is why this stronghold didn't receive the evacuation message. Using ninja hawks to directly transmit messages is no longer an option," Dong Siren said, even more troubled. He had originally planned to contact the ninjas in the surrounding Iwa ninja strongholds to concentrate their forces for a siege, but now it seemed this method wouldn't work and would instead expose the location of friendly forces. If it were other Konoha ninja teams, even if they found their strongholds based on the hawks' flight direction, they wouldn't be able to kill the hawks flying thousands of meters in the air. By the time they arrived, the hawks would have already delivered the intelligence, and the people in the strongholds would have already evacuated, leaving them empty-handed. However, this group of Konoha ninjas had a Moonlight Han with extremely long-range killing capabilities. Continuing to use the hawks would only reveal the location of other strongholds. A Konoha ninja force of over 500 men, plus a Moonlight Han, would be in great danger even for a ninja force of 1,000 men. This is why the 700 or 800 men only dared to follow behind, not to pursue and fight. However, if they couldn't eliminate these Konoha ninjas and allow them to continue disrupting the rear, not only would there be huge casualties, but the supplies at the front would also run out soon. "Tell the situation here to Commander Huangtu at the front. We'll continue tracking those Konoha ninjas." After thinking for a while without finding a way to deal with the current situation, Dong Siren could only hand over this troublesome problem to the front command. Chapter 67 Target, Heaven and Earth Bridge. In the forest, wisps of smoke rose into the air, clearly visible even from a distance. Moonlight Han and his ninjas made no attempt to conceal their presence, setting up a cooking fire right there in the forest. The aroma of food wafted from afar. "Tokugawa-kun, go eat. We'll scout ahead," Hyugami called out to Hyuga Tokugawa, who was perched atop a tree, as 10 well-fed Konoha ninjas approached. "Any findings?" Hearing the call, Hyuga Tokugawa, binoculars in hand, jumped down from a large tree, asking the 10 Konoha ninjas who followed suit. "No," the 10 Konoha ninjas all shook their heads. "Mi-san, I'll leave the rest to you," Hyuga Tokugawa said to Hyugami, handing her his binoculars. The other Konoha ninjas who had climbed down also handed their binoculars to the ninjas Hyugami had brought, then followed Hyuga Tokugawa towards the dining area. "Sir, no ninja hawks have been detected flying within a 10-kilometer radius." Upon arriving at the dining area, Hyuga Tokugawa first led his men to Gekko Han, who was dining with Jonin like Gekko Hoshino, and respectfully reported. "Still no findings?" Logically, after causing such a commotion yesterday, the Iwe ninjas following us should have sent information to the nearby enemies. Kimura Takuya frowned upon hearing this. "Perhaps they've already discovered how we found their base, and that's why they haven't released ninja hawks in this direction," Gekko Han said nonchalantly. It wasn't that Gekko Han actually knew the reason, but rather that he was indifferent. "Sir, if the enemy isn't using ninja hawks to communicate, how can we continue to confirm the locations of other Iwe ninja bases?" Jonin Ikumo asked. "If we can't find them, then let them come to us. Although this will be dangerous, it's much more effective than us running around aimlessly behind Iwe ninja lines," Gekko Han said. "Han, you mean to guard the supplier route to Awakens?" Gekko Hoshino asked, frowning. "That's right," Gekko Han nodded. "Han, have you thought this through? If we do that, we'll be facing several times, even 10 times, more Awakens ninja, and they'll be well prepared," Gekko Hoshino said cautiously. "I've already chosen the location," Gekko Han said confidently. "It's the Tenchi Bridge in the Land of Grass." Tenchi Bridge. Upon hearing this, the Jonin stared at Gekko Han in astonishment. They even doubted whether they had heard correctly. The Tenchi Bridge in the Land of Grass was no longer just a supplier route for Iwagakure, it was the lifeline of the Iwagakure ninja on the front lines. "That's right, it's the Tenchi Bridge in the Land of Grass." Upon hearing this, Gekko Han said with a smile. After shoveling several mouthfuls of rice into his wooden bowl, he continued, "As long as we hold that place, it's like holding the lifeline of the Iwe ninja frontline troops in the throat. Then the Iwe ninja frontline, lacking supplies, will be in real trouble. Jiraiya will definitely seize the opportunity." Hearing this, all the Jonin fell silent. What Gekko Han said was true. As long as they held the Tenchi Bridge, preventing the Iwe ninja from supplying the frontline, the Iwe ninja frontline would truly be in chaos. At that time, Lord Jiraiya might even be able to use this opportunity to drive the Iwe ninja out of the Land of Fire. However, this couldn't be done in a day or two. They had to hold out until the Iwe ninja frontline was running out of supplies, which would take at least half a month. Moreover, holding the Tenchi Bridge was no easy task. Both the Iwe ninja and Konoha were well aware of its importance. Such a crucial position was like holding the lifeline of the Iwe ninja frontline. It was likely that not only would a large number of Iwe ninja attack, but also a large number of Iwe ninja experts would be mobilized, and even that such a package might personally come. It is precisely because the Heavenly Bridge is so important that simply taking it is extremely difficult, let alone holding it. Destroying the bridge would be easily repaired by the Iwe ninja, rendering it largely ineffective. Otherwise, Konoha would have sent reinforcements long ago. It's not that they didn't want to, but it was simply impossible, resulting in a pointless sacrifice. "We have 500 men. This opportunity only comes now." Seeing everyone's silence, Yu Guang'an remained calm, finishing his last bite of rice before putting down his bowl. If successful, it will be a major victory in terms of the overall battle situation and the war effort, potentially laying the foundation for future victories. Even if we fail, holding out for a few more days will alleviate the pressure on the front lines, allowing the main force to recover and resist or even counterattack. "Sir, we'll listen to you." Hearing this, the Jonin finally stopped hesitating and immediately replied. Yu Guang'an was right, this was their only chance. Infiltrating another 500 men behind Iwe ninja lines was virtually impossible. Regardless of success or failure, Holding out for a few more days would be a major victory for Konoha in terms of the overall battle situation and the war effort, even if all 500 men were to sacrifice themselves. Since everyone agrees, we'll head towards the heavenly bridge after we finish eating, Moonlight Han said, making the decision after everyone agreed. Yes, the Jonin responded. Sir, now that we've decided on the heavenly bridge as our target, what about the prisoners? Kimura Takuya asked. Since they had decided to do something so dangerous and the target was clear, the prisoners seemed like a burden. Release them one by one along the way. Tell them that our target is the heavenly bridge, and Konoha will soon be victorious, Moonlight Han said. Yes, Kimura Takuya responded. Sir, those Konoha ninjas went northwest after eating here. Their target is probably, that night, the Iwe ninja who had been tracking Moonlight Han's Konoha troops found the place where the Konoha ninjas had eaten that morning. After inspecting the area, Demon Leech reported to the Eastern Dead Man with a very grim expression. It's the heavenly bridge, isn't it? The Eastern Dead Man clenched his fists, his face dark, and said through gritted teeth, enunciating each word clearly. Yes, Demon Leech said. The worst fears had come true. There courting death, Dong Siren tried to suppress his emotions. He ordered, immediately send out ninja hawks to inform the guards at the Tenchi Bridge that over 500 Konoha ninjas are heading in their direction. Tell them to hold out for 3 days. Release several hawks and make sure the information reaches the guards at the Tenchi Bridge. Also, inform Lord Huangtu about the situation here and request that he send more troops to the vicinity of the Tenchi Bridge to join us. This time, I want to encircle and annihilate them all at the Tenchi Bridge. Yes, sir. Upon hearing this, Mosey Hi immediately responded and went to have the intelligence ninja deliver the information. Chapter 68 Conspiracy. In the quiet forest at night, concealed by a wall formed by 4 earthen arrays, Yu Guanghan, after using blood nanobits to restore the wounds on the stomachs of the anesthetized Iwe ninja prisoners, instructed Kimura Takuya, from now on, separate them and guard each one individually. After they wake up, give them 3 days' worth of ice. Release them one by one after we set off tomorrow. Remember, you must tell each of them individually that our target is the Tenchi Bridge. No need for disguise, just tell them directly. Release the 2 Jonin last. Yes, sir. Upon hearing this, Kimura Takuya immediately responded, then asked doubtfully, Sir, will they really go to find their own troops or head to the Tenchi Bridge? Will they believe what we tell them? Under the influence of the ice, they can't endure the torment. Seeing Kimura Takuya's doubt, Gekko-han didn't hide anything and said with a smile, they only have 2 choices. One is to find their main force before they finish eating the ice or while they are suffering, and rely on the village's strength to overcome the ice. The other is to commit suicide while suffering after they finish eating the ice. I don't think they would commit suicide with such important information. Besides, with so many people, it doesn't matter if 1 or 2 commit suicide. As for whether they will believe what we told them, such an important matter, even if they think we are lying to them, they wouldn't dare to ignore it. And wouldn't it be better if they didn't believe us? After speaking, Gekko-han left the open space separated by the 4 earthen array walls. As expected of an adult, even if the Iwe ninja know that our target is the Tenchi Bridge, they will have to be suspicious now. Before we attack the Tenchi Bridge, they will have to spare some strength to defend other places. Such tactics at such a young age? My future is even brighter. Watching Gekko-han leave, Kimura Takuya thought admiringly. He had indeed chosen the right person to rely on, as if he had found the future Hokage. Men, separate these unconscious Iwe ninja and take them away. Kimura Takuya immediately summoned 14 Konoha Chunin to take the unconscious Iwe ninja away, giving them instructions. Sir, we captured one of our Jonin. He says he has important information to report. At dawn, just as the sun had completely risen above the mountains, Mahiro, who was in charge of reconnaissance, hurriedly returned to report to Higashi no Shiren. One of our Jonin, Higashi no Shiren asked suspiciously. Yes, sir, he's a survivor of the supply depot attacked by Konoha ninjas. He was captured by Konoha ninjas before their depot was attacked and just escaped. We also found this on him, Mahiro said, holding out several fingernail-sized pieces of ice he had found on the captured Jonin. Is his identity confirmed? What important information does he want to report? Higashi no Shiren asked, taking the ice from Mahiro and examining it carefully. It's confirmed. He was indeed a Jonin from the supply depot that was attacked earlier. However, he didn't escape. He was released by the Konoha ninja. Before letting him go, the Konoha ninja told him privately that their target was the Tenchi Bridge. Haruko replied. He was also unsure about Konoha's motives. Could it be that their target wasn't the Tenchi Bridge? What's this for? Higashi asked, holding up the transparent ice in his hand. He wasn't in a hurry to analyze the Konoha ninja's purpose. Upon hearing this, Haruko immediately said, "We learned from that Jinan that this thing is called ice. Its function is probably to control them. It might be some kind of unknown poison, but it's not fatal. Eating it makes one feel as comfortable as if they were in paradise, but once you eat it, even just a lick, if you don't eat it for a while, your whole body will feel like it's being bitten by 1,000 ants, and the more you eat, the more painful it becomes, and the faster it takes effect." Upon hearing this, Higashi, who had already stuck out his tongue to lick it, immediately spat and glared at Haruko. He almost licked it, and the leech didn't even stop him from doing so. "Leech, are you trying to replace me as commander?" Dong Siren glared at the leech, his heart pounding with anxiety. "Your subordinate wouldn't dare." Hearing this, the leech quickly lowered its head in fear. Who knew that Dong Siren, upon hearing that it wasn't lethal, wanted to try it before he could even finish speaking? Luckily, he had spoken quickly enough. "Seal this thing away immediately and send it back to the village for research. Also, have someone constantly monitor that Jinan's condition and record it. Go and arrange it immediately," Dong Siren ordered. "Yes." Upon hearing this, the leech immediately responded, took the ice, and disappeared without daring to linger for even a second. "Moonlight Han, your goal is indeed the Heavenly Bridge. What a brilliant scheme. No wonder you're Konoha's #1 genius." After the leech left, Dong Siren looked in the direction of the Heavenly Bridge and muttered to himself. He guessed Yu Guang'an's intentions. This was Yu Guang'an's way of misleading them. He was even certain that Yu Guang'an's target was the Heavenly Bridge, but this time Yu Guang'an's deception was a calculated move. Even if they guessed Yu Guang'an's purpose and even confirmed his target, they dared not concentrate all their forces on the Heavenly Bridge. The Heavenly Bridge was the best target for Yu Guang'an's Konoha ninja attack, but if they concentrated their forces on the Heavenly Bridge, Yu Guang'an could retreat and change targets, avoiding their main force and quickly attacking other weak points. Although other places were not as important as the Heavenly Bridge, they would still have a significant impact or loss on the war situation. After witnessing the ice, Dong Siren was not sure if the captured Jonin was as stubborn as expected and had not revealed any important information. He didn't even know how many Jonin of his own side had been captured by Konoha. The best solution he could think of now was to wait for the Konoha ninja to actually attack the Heavenly Bridge before concentrating his forces to eliminate them. As for encirclement and interception, the Konoha forces include Byakugan ninjas and Gecko Han, making them difficult to block. Even if they were blocked, how many ninjas would it take? Their 700 or 800 men dared not attempt it. Gecko Han's bloodline limit is extremely dangerous. This would require more ninjas than concentrating forces to encircle and suppress them at the Tenchi Bridge, and would result in numerous casualties, because the battle area has expanded. Hopefully, the defenders at the Tenchi Bridge can hold their ground with their strong defenses, Dong Siren thought to himself. "Sir, we've captured another of our Jinan, who also claims to have important intelligence to report." A Jonin in charge of reconnaissance quickly approached Dong Siren and reported. "Has his identity been confirmed? What important intelligence does he want to report? Is he a prisoner released by the Konoha ninjas?" Upon hearing this, Dong Siren frowned and asked in quick succession. He already had some guesses about what the ninja who came to report was going to say. Yes, the ninja who came to report then echoed Dong Siren's suspicions, saying something similar to what Mosey Hi had said. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Capsule Locator. Halt. All troops, rest in place, replenish your strength, and check your weapons and equipment. In the midday forest, at Yu Guang'an's command, the more than 550 Konoha ninja who had been traveling at breakneck speed stopped within seconds. They began checking and inventorying their weapons and equipment. "Sir, we're about 20 kilometers from the Heavenly Bridge as the crow flies." After the group stopped, Kimura Takuya immediately approached Yu Guang'an with a map, unfolded it, and examined it carefully before speaking to him. The map he held was of the land of grass, seized from the Iwen Ninja supply depot. However, the Iwen Ninja were very cautious. Aside from some place names, there was no information marked on it regarding the battle situation or ninja deployments. It even lacked information on roads within the land of grass, and didn't include map scale or coordinates. It was a very rough map. No, to be precise, it's 18.325 kilometers. Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghan smiled and gave a precise number, accurate to the meter. Wow, everyone stared at Yu Guanghan in surprise at the precise number, wondering how he could arrive at such an accurate figure. They couldn't understand how he had calculated it. It's those two Iwen Ninja Jonin who were released at the end, Yu Guangzing thought, recalling the two Jonin who had been released. Knowing they were going to attack such an important place as the Tenchi Bridge, regardless of the accuracy of the intelligence, the two Jonin who were released would definitely arrive at the Tenchi Bridge before the Konoha Ninja attacked and inform the Iwen Ninja guarding it. Yu Guanghan must have done something to those two to allow him to sense them so accurately from a great distance. Now those two Iwen Ninja must have arrived at the Tenchi Bridge. The precise distance Yu Guanghan mentioned was actually the distance between Yu Guanghan and one of those two Jonin. Those released Iwen Ninja weren't just there to mislead the enemy, they also served to reveal the enemy's exact location, Bai Yunzei thought to herself. It's impossible that Yu Guanghan only targeted two Jonin from Iwa, the released Jinan and Chunin must have been tampered with as well. These released ninjas would likely search for their units or be found by the increasing number of Iwa ninjas arriving there. This way, Yu Guanghan could monitor the movements of most of the nearby Iwa ninjas from a distance. Yu Guanghoshino and Bayunzeo's earlier guess was correct. Before releasing the Iwa ninja prisoners, Yu Guanghan had implanted locators in their stomachs for the purpose of accurately locating enemies from a distance. Capsule locator, technological template. Signal range of 50 kilometers, can be implanted in the human body, waterproof, fireproof, anti-theft, anti-friends, anti-brothers, can operate for 10 years. Each capsule consumes 10 energy points. 2 hours later, after everyone had eaten, drunk, and rested, Yu Guanghan gathered everyone together. Seeing the eager Konoha ninjas, Moonlight Han shouted, "Gentlemen, in 5 minutes, I will launch an indiscriminate attack on the Iwen ninjas at the Tenchi Bridge. However, this attack can only last for 30 minutes. I want all of you to be within 500 meters of the Tenchi Bridge before my attack ends. When my attack stops, that's your time to kill the enemy and earn merit. Kill. Kill. Kill." As soon as Moonlight Han finished speaking, led by several Jonin, more than 500 Konoha ninjas shouted battle cries, their morale soaring. "Start the timer now. Lightning release guard, stay behind. The rest of you, move out immediately." Seeing the high-spirited Konoha ninjas, Moonlight Han immediately gave the order. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With the order, the Konoha ninjas instantly transformed into streaks of black shadows and disappeared before Moonlight Han's eyes, rushing towards the Tenchi Bridge. "Sir, isn't it too difficult to infiltrate the vicinity of the Tenchi Bridge within 35 minutes without alerting the Iwen ninja stationed there?" Kimura Takuya, a lightning-released ninja who stayed behind after the team set off, asked with some concern. The Tenchi Bridge was such a crucial location, the Iwen ninja would undoubtedly have laid numerous traps around it. The closer one got to the bridge, the more numerous and well-hidden the traps would be. 35 minutes was simply too short. The Iwen ninja had a fixed route to the Tenchi Bridge. Did I say I wanted to do it without alerting the Iwen ninja? Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghan shook his head and said, "When my attack begins, it will already alert the Iwen ninja at the Tenchi Bridge. But even if it does, they will be too busy to defend themselves. In 35 minutes, our men can easily use force to destroy the traps in advance." Yes, I was overthinking it," Kimura Takuya replied. "No, you're thinking of everyone in the battle. This isn't an overreaction," Moonlight Han said with a smile. "Tell the lightning-released ninjas to get ready. I'll need you to replenish my supplies later." "Rest assured, sir, we will do our utmost," Kimura Takuya said respectfully. After hearing Kimura Takuya's words, Moonlight Han nodded with a smile. After binding himself with steel wire, he flicked his wrist, sending 10 kunai connected to the wires flying to the ground, facing the direction of the Heavenly Bridge. Multiple K-16 cannon templates. Moonlight Han didn't even form hand seals, he simply pressed his hands directly to the ground, immediately using the 150mm cannon templates in multiple stages. As the multiple templates were used, the ground immediately rose up in bulges, as if something was about to emerge from underground. Whoosh, gravel and soil continuously fell from the bulges, gradually revealing the smooth metal beneath. After a few breaths, the 10 cannons, each weighing 10.8 tons and 6.4 meters long, shed their dirt and gleamed in the sunlight. Upon seeing the 10 cannons appear, Kimura Takuya immediately waved to the lightning-released ninjas. The next moment, after images appeared behind Zhu Guanghan, and 50 lightning-released ninjas stood in 5 rows behind him. The ninjas in the first row picked up kunai with wire strapped to them, ready to await orders. Sensing the locators embedded in the Iwen ninjas' bodies, Yu Guanghan began adjusting the muzzles of the 10 cannons, waiting for the 5-minute timer to finish. Tenchi Bridge. After receiving news that over 500 Konoha ninjas would be attacking this place, the 300 Iwen ninja stationed here were all mobilized. The defenses, which hadn't been particularly emphasized before, were continuously strengthened. The trenches were dug deeper and wider, and the original single trench was expanded into 2. Within a day, all the trees within a 200-meter radius were felled, clearing a wide field of vision. The felled trees were also made into giant chevaux de frise-like structures, mixed with earthen walls, to resist the enemy's wide-range ninjutsu and defend against explosive attacks. Chapter 70 Firepower Coverage. Location: Tenchi Bridge. Time: noon. Lunchtime. Ono-kun, do you think those Konoha ninjas will really attack Tenchi Bridge? Ever since I received the news, I've been feeling uneasy. In the newly dug trench, an Iwen ninja Chuni ate his lunch while asking a fellow Iwachuni ninja of similar age beside him. His voice was filled with worry. Kamita-kun, this information was brought back by Oishi and Biwa, 2 Jonin. Moreover, several ninja hawks had already sent back information in batches before this, while saying that Konoha ninjas were going to attack Tenchi Bridge, and that we must strengthen the defenses here. It can't be fake. It's said that among the enemies this time is a very troublesome guy. I think it's called Han, Konoha's #1 genius. Hearing this, the ninja Kamita Kajiro, who was being questioned, said confidently. But I heard that this information was personally given to Jonin Oishi by Konoha ninjas. Why would Konoha ninjas tell Jonin Oishi their targets? And I also heard that Oishi-senpai and the others were captured by Konoha ninjas before, and that Konoha ninjas released them voluntarily. Is Oishi-senpai really trustworthy? Ono, the Iwen ninja who asked the question, retorted. He had a feeling that there was something wrong with those 2 Jonin. Hearing this, Ono wasn't so sure either, and quickly asked, really? Where did you hear that? I heard it from someone else. They said that they themselves said they were captured by Konoha ninjas, and that Konoha ninjas released them. They even told them that Konoha ninjas were going to attack this place, Kamita said in detail. Ono was a little confused. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Just then, a strange whooshing sound suddenly rang out above their heads. 10 150mm heavy artillery shells streaked across the sky, leaving highly transparent, distorted lines in the air. The next second, before the Iwen ninja station there could even realize what was happening, violent explosions erupted one after another in the Iwen ninja camp at the Tenchi Bridge, shaking the very ground. Boom, accompanied by continuous thunderous roars, raging flames bloomed like giant orange-red flowers, each 10 or 20 meters tall, instantly bursting forth in the Iwen ninja camp. Heat waves howled like a hurricane, and shock waves whipped up dust that rapidly expanded. Thud thud thud, shrapnel and chunks of dirt flew everywhere like bullets, hitting the ground, the bridge, and the wooden stakes with a series of thuds, like nails being hammered. Interspersed among these were the sounds of flesh being struck. Help me. Medical ninja, my intestines are spilling out, my leg is broken, someone help me. A second after the explosions, the Iwen ninja stationed at the Tenchi Bridge were instantly thrown into chaos, cries for help rising and falling in waves. Wounded ninjas clutched their shrapnel-ripped stomachs, desperately calling for help. Ninjas with blown-off legs cried out for assistance. But mostly, there were screams of excruciating pain. Enemy attack! Terrified and anxious shouts echoed throughout the Iwen ninja camp guarding the Tenchi Bridge. Konoha ninjas are attacking. Prepare for defense. Frantic and anxious voices rang out as ninjas rushed towards the perimeter of the camp's defenses. Sensory ninjas, pinpoint the enemy's location immediately, the commander's voice boomed amidst the chaos. Medical ninjas, come quick. Someone here is seriously injured. Someone here has had their leg blown off, help. This person is dying. In the midst of the panic, cries of distress continued. What was that just now? I don't know. In the deep and wide second trench, Ono and Kamita lay on the edge, watching the chaotic camp and their comrades running towards the trench, somewhat stunned. Just now, 10 violent explosions erupted in the less than 50,000 square meter, equivalent to 7 standard football fields, outpost, each covering an area of several meters around it. They suffered at least 20 casualties. A second whoosh sound rang out above the Iwe ninjas' heads. Boom! More violent explosions followed in quick succession within the Iwe ninjas' outpost. This time, only 10 seconds had passed since the last explosion. Although it was an indiscriminate attack, the number of casualties was even greater this time because the Iwe ninja were running around the outpost. The screams from within the Iwe ninjas' outpost grew even louder. Scatter. Don't huddle together, raise earthen walls to defend against flying debris, run to the trenches. After the second explosion, the Iwe ninja immediately realized that the attack wouldn't end there, it would continue. Shouts echoed continuously within the Iwe ninjas' outpost. Earthen walls rose one after another within the Iwe ninjas' outpost. Medical ninjas, hiding behind earthen walls, anxiously treated the severely wounded. Iwe ninjas desperately ran towards the trenches or rushed to save the wounded. Whoosh! The whistling of artillery shells echoed through the sky again. In the next second, 10 more explosions rang out in the Iwe ninjas' camp. Amidst the flying supplies, a supply warehouse was shattered. Several earthen walls that the Iwe ninjas believed would protect them were torn to pieces by the explosions or knocked down by the shockwaves. Screams of agony echoed from a section of the trench. A heavy artillery shell had landed there, instantly tearing apart 3 Iwe ninjas hiding there. Shrapnel shot down 7 or 8 people nearby. The explosion also caused several meters of the trench to collapse. The attack is coming from the eastern sky, an anxious shout rang out from the Iwe ninjas' camp. A Jonin, having discovered the direction of the attack, screamed with all his might. Don't stay on the ground. The earthen walls can't withstand such powerful explosions. Attack every 10 seconds. Run to the trenches, lie down and avoid the flying debris, many Iwe ninjas shouted anxiously as they watched the shattered earthen walls crumble. Boom! A few more shots followed, and the shells once again pounded into the Iwe ninjas' camp. Thick smoke from the successive explosions rose high above the camp, and the heat and flames ignited the wood and tents. In just 40 seconds, 4 volleys have consumed 14,000 energy points. Adding the 30,000 energy points consumed by manifesting 10 cannons, the remaining 456,000 energy points might not be enough to sustain them for 30 minutes. In the forest 18.5 kilometers away from the Iwe ninja camp, Moonlight Han silently calculated after firing another volley. Kimura Takuya, replenish my energy with lightning release immediately. Moonlight Han ordered Kimura Takuya without turning his head, launching another salvo. Bang 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 bang, accompanied by 10 muffled thuds, 10 K-16 cannons once again spewed out dazzling and massive tongues of fire. 10 51.4 kilogram shells rapidly shot towards the Iwe ninja base 18 kilometers away. Lightning release, earth movement, 10 under Kimura Takuya's command. The 10 lightning released ninjas in the first row behind Moonlight Han, who were already prepared, also released lightning release, earth movement. However, compared to the 3,500 energy points consumed by a 10-second salvo, the 300-odd energy points they replenished each time seemed like a drop in the ocean. Chapter 71 Sustained Artillery Bombardment. Even with replenishment, it's still a few minutes short of a 30-minute bombardment. The firing rate needs adjustment. Having received replenishment, Moonlight Han calculated in his mind and launched another salvo. Even if it meant changing the firing rate to save energy points, he had to maximize the effect of the salvo first. This effect is the kill rate. Bang bang bang. After another 2 minutes and a half, 14 more salvos were fired, totaling 140 shells. Only then did Moonlight Han change the firing rate from 10 shells every 10 seconds to 5 shells every 7 seconds. At the Heavenly Bridge, amidst the continuous explosions, the Iwe ninja's base was riddled with craters. Houses and tents within the base were destroyed, and even the earthen walls and giant barricades outside were largely destroyed. Corpses and limbs were mixed with scattered supplies, visible everywhere, but no one dared to risk collecting them. Because none of them knew where the shells would land, nor could they predict it. From where did those damned Konoha ninjas attack? Amidst the constant explosions, the sensory ninjas hiding in the trenches frantically tried to locate the Konoha ninjas attacking them, especially those from the east. They desperately searched for any trace of the enemy. Every moment, comrades were wounded and killed in the continuous explosions. Even with all of them inside the trenches, shells continued to fall, claiming their lives. Unfortunately, even with their sensory range maximized, they found nothing. There was no trace of the enemy within their range, not even a single one. Hiding in the trenches, watching their base reduced to almost nothing but scorched earth, the commander of the Iwen ninja garrison was powerless to stop the relentless explosions. In the 10 minutes of continuous blasting, they had suffered heavy casualties, and although the frequency of the explosions had decreased somewhat, there was no sign of them stopping. By this time, more than 100 of the 300-plus ninjas stationed there had been killed or seriously wounded. Although he wanted to order the Iwen ninja hiding in the trenches to rush out and take refuge in areas unaffected by the explosions, Oishi and Biwa strongly dissuaded him, telling him that would only make things more dangerous. After learning from them about Moonlight Hand's abilities and the ordeal suffered by Higashi no Shijin's team, the Iwen ninja commander understood the truth. Without the trenches, they would face even more concentrated attacks in open areas. Not only would they suffer faster casualties, but if they abandoned their position to avoid the explosions, the Konoha ninjas would be waiting for the opportunity to storm the base, making it even more difficult to retake the Tenchi Bridge. This was why Higashi no Shijin had urged him to hold the position at all costs. Oishi, is there really no way to counter Moonlight Hand's bloodline limit? Even just an effective defense would be helpful. If these violent explosions continue like this, let alone holding the Tenchi Bridge for 3 days, it will be difficult to even hold out for 30 minutes, the Iwen ninja commander guarding the Tenchi Bridge asked, hiding in the trenches. Being forced to passively endure the attacks filled him with resentment. If he hadn't personally witnessed such a powerful long-range attack, he truly wouldn't have believed that such a disgusting bloodline limit existed in the ninja world. Hearing this, Daishi shook his head sadly and said, "There's no way. Otherwise, those Konoha ninja wouldn't have attacked here, they would have been wiped out long ago, if they had truly found an effective way to counter Yu Guanghan, with their numerical and geographical advantages, and the numerous friendly outposts nearby to mobilize. Why would Dong Siren have only dared to pursue this group of over 500 Konoha ninja from afar? They would have already launched a full-scale encirclement and suppression. Unfortunately, there was no way to counter it, and even an effective defense was currently lacking. Although their Iwagakure village possessed many powerful defensive ninjutsu, the enemy's attack fell from the sky with immense power. Defense ninjutsu capable of defending against the sky couldn't withstand such a powerful explosion, and vice versa. Perhaps burrowing underground was feasible, but that would mean allowing the enemy to storm their camp. Then, a powerful earth escape technique would easily bury them forever underground, saving them all trouble. Sigh. I can only hope that guy named Moonlight Han won't last long. Hearing this, the commander of the base sighed. This kind of operation was truly frustrating, but there was nothing they could do, because they had no more effective way to defend themselves, let alone counterattack. Sir, Konoha ninja spotted. About 500 of them, heading towards the base. Time ticked by, and the bombardment had lasted for 25 minutes. Just as the Iwen ninja commander was still at a loss and extremely distressed, a shout made his heart sink to the bottom, and the hearts of all the Iwen ninja sank to the bottom as well. The enemy had finally arrived, and just as the intelligence had said, they had a numerical advantage. Now, they were even more passive. In the forest 500 meters away from the trench where the Iwen ninja were hiding, 500 Konoha ninja arrived 5 minutes ahead of schedule. That's nearly 20 kilometers. And the power is incredible. It's comparable to an A-rank ninjutsu. If you could become Hokage, Konoha might really be able to unify the ninja world. Watching the explosions relentlessly erupting within the Iwen ninja camp, thick black smoke billowing and debris flying through the flames, the Konoha ninja were still shocked to witness it firsthand. Although Gecko Han had previously stated he would launch an indiscriminate attack on the Iwen ninja camp from 18 kilometers away, seeing it with their own eyes still left the Konoha ninja stunned. Gecko Hoshino checked the time and said to everyone, 5 minutes left. Hearing this, the Konoha ninja quickly suppressed their various thoughts and began their final preparations for the battle. Gecko Han's attack would cease in 5 minutes, and then it would be their time to seize the Iwen ninja camp at Tenchi Bridge in one fell swoop. 5 minutes is nothing more than watching a magnificent firework display 500 meters away for the Konoha ninjas. However, for the Iwen ninjas, every second is agonizing. In those final 5 minutes, they lost over 20 more ninjas, and more than 10 were seriously injured. Less than half of them remained combat ready. When the last wave of explosions stopped, 30 minutes had passed. Charge, with the shouts of Yu Guanghan and Byun Zeojian. The Konoha ninjas, who were already prepared, charged towards the Iwen ninjas' base, their battle cries echoing through the forest. The Iwen ninjas' defenses had been almost completely destroyed by the shelling, and most of the traps along the edge of their base had been destroyed in the 30-minute explosions. The morale of the Iwen ninjas had also been eroded by the shelling, and even much of their defensive supplies had been destroyed. The continuous shelling also served to destroy these supplies. It stopped. Seeing the explosions that had lasted for a full 30 minutes cease, the Iwen ninjas finally breathed a sigh of relief, but then their spirits lifted again. The Konoha ninjas are attacking, with the shouts of the sensory ninjas. The Iwen ninjas who had survived the 30-minute explosions gripped their weapons, preparing for their final battle. Chapter 72 Results of the Battle. In the forest, exactly 30 minutes had passed when Yu Guanghan ceased his bombardment, turning the 10 cannons into rocks and mud. Even with 50 lightning-released ninjas constantly replenishing his supplies, the 30-minute bombardment had left him with less than 20,000 energy points, insufficient for even a minute of sustained saturation bombardment. "My lord, please have some water." As soon as Yu Guanghan stood up, Kimura Takuya immediately transformed into lackey, respectfully handing him a pre-prepared water jug. Moonlight Han took the water bottle handed to him by Kimura Takuya and drank a few sips. Looking at the 50 lightning-released ninjas, exhausted from continuously using lightning release and refining chakra, he smiled and said, "Everyone, rest for 5 minutes before heading to Tenchi Bridge. Perhaps by the time we arrive, they'll have already cleaned up the battlefield." "Yes." Upon hearing this, Kimura Takuya immediately responded and loudly ordered the exhausted lightning-released ninjas, "Everyone rest here for 5 minutes. We'll head to Tenchi Bridge in 5 minutes, sir." The battle is indeed over. 40 minutes later, when Moonlight Han led the exhausted lightning-released ninjas to the Tenchi Bridge Iwen ninja base, the battle had already subsided. The thick smoke that had billowed into the sky had stopped rising, the flames ignited by the artillery fire had been extinguished, the wounded ninjas had been treated, and the corpses and severed limbs of the Iwen ninjas scattered on the ground had been collected. Clearly, the battle had ended quite some time ago. The Konoha ninjas were now collecting the scattered supplies and checking what was still usable. "My lord, the battle ended 20 minutes ago, and we are cleaning up the battlefield. Lord Hoshino and Lord Hayama are in the center, and the captured prisoners are being held there." Hyuga Tokugawa, who was in charge of reconnaissance and guard duty, was the first to spot Gekko Han and his group arriving, and immediately ran over to report. "You did a good job, go back to your work," Gekko Han said to Hyuga Tokugawa with a smile, and then instructed Kimura Takuya and the other lightning-released ninjas. "Kimura Takuya, gather all the lightning-released ninjas together and gather them on the east side of this camp. The rest of you, hurry up and rest, eat, and recover your chakra." There are more than 50 lightning-released ninjas. The protagonist's lightning-release guard consists of 50 people, and there are 70 or 80 lightning-released ninjas among the other 500 Konoha ninjas. "Yes, sir," Kimura Takuya immediately responded loudly and left with the lightning-released ninjas. After Kimura Takuya left, Gekko Han walked alone towards the center of this Iwen ninja camp. "My lord, my lord, my lord." As Yu Guanghan walked towards the center, the Konoha ninjas who were cleaning up the battlefield or resting would stop what they were doing and respectfully greet him. They would then look at him with admiration as he continued towards the center. Some of the Jinan, in particular, looked at Yu Guanghan with eyes that shone like stars. Yu Guanghan would smile and nod to these respectfully greeting ninjas. "Han boy, you've arrived." This time it was truly a great victory. "Ha ha ha." At the prisoner of war area in the center, Yu Guangzinga laughed heartily as he saw Yu Guanghan approaching. This battle not only achieved its crucial strategic objectives but also yielded extremely rich results, while the losses were almost negligible. "Uncle Zingai, what were the losses in this battle?" Yu Guanghan asked with a smile. "What a loss." Upon hearing this, Moonlight Hoshino's smile vanished, replaced by a somber tone. "We lost 13 ninjas, 9 were seriously wounded, and 20 were lightly wounded. The bodies of the dead have been sealed in scrolls, and the seriously wounded have been taken care of. They are not in immediate danger. Their achievements have also been accurately recorded. The loss of lives, whether many or few, is always a somber affair." Hearing that Moonlight Hoshino had arranged for the dead and wounded, Moonlight Han continued, "What about the kill count and the overall results?" Moonlight Hoshino replied, according to the statistics, we killed 263 enemies and captured 58 prisoners, 35 of whom were seriously wounded. Few of them actually surrendered. Hearing this, Moonlight Han remarked, as expected of a village with such militarized management, they truly have guts. Whether it was the Iwen Ninja Supply Depot or the ninjas stationed at the Tenchi Bridge, they fought with incredible ferocity, continuing to fight to the death even when defeat was inevitable. Yu Guanghong continued, what about the supplies captured? Not much was captured, most of it was destroyed. Hearing this, Yu Guangxinga said with some worry, we only captured 4,000 kunai, 6,000 shuriken, 3,000 explosive tags, a quantity of special ninja tools like senbon, and some poison. Most of these were captured from Iwan Ninja. We still have about 5,000 arrows, not much medicine, and our clothing and tents are mostly destroyed. If we use the remaining food sparingly, it will probably only last us about 10 days. I'm afraid this will be very detrimental to our defense, so little. Hearing this, Yu Guanghan frowned immediately. Without enough supplies, and even food, holding the bridge would be quite difficult. However, Yu Guanghan didn't say anything. He knew that most of the supplies here were destroyed during his 30-minute artillery barrage. But he didn't regret it. After all, supplies couldn't buy the lives of his own ninja. Besides, the destroyed supplies were previously used to defend against the Konoha ninja. Uncle Hoshino. Uncle Hayama. After a moment of silence, Moonlight Han said, next, you two should repair the defenses here as much as possible, and set up as many traps as possible. Also, use fire release to blow up the Tenchi Bridge to prevent being attacked from both sides. Iwen ninjas are skilled in earth release, so dig another trench, make them deeper, and connect the 3 trenches. Also, seal up the bodies of those Uwen ninjas, they might come in handy later. Please also take care of the internal affairs. Next, I will interrogate each of the prisoners here individually. Hearing this, Moonlight Hoshino and White Cloud Hayama immediately nodded and said, no problem, leave it to us. Okay, Moonlight Han hummed in agreement and said, thank you both, uncles. I'll have Kimura Takuya come and collect the prisoners later. After saying that, Moonlight Han walked towards the east side of the base. With supplies running low, he could only do his best. In a forest 100 kilometers from the Heavenly Bridge, the Demon Leech reported to the Eastern Dead Man. Holding the intelligence report taken from the Ninja Hawk's leg, my lord, the Heavenly Bridge has fallen. Almost all the ninjas stationed there have been killed in action. Upon hearing this, the Eastern Dead Man remained silent. The fall of the Heavenly Bridge was not unexpected. To prevent the Moonlight Han from intercepting the intelligence, the Ninja Hawk had first flown to a base in another direction before flying to the Eastern Dead Man's location. Chapter 73 The Uneasy Eastern Dead. Sir, should we release these prisoners too? Having witnessed Yu Guanghan implanting capsule-like objects into the bodies of unconscious prisoners and then healing their wounds, Kimura Takuya inquired. Normally, he shouldn't have asked these questions, he should have simply followed Yu Guanghan's instructions. However, these prisoners were different from the last. They had seen the layout of their newly constructed defenses and the locations of nearby traps. Of course, release them, Yu Guanghan replied without hesitation. But this time, we must make them believe they escaped on their own, not that we deliberately let them go. This task is entrusted to you, Kimura Takuya immediately replied. Understood. Boom. At night, with a series of explosions, the 60-meter-long, 8-meter-wide sky bridge was reduced to rubble and fell off the cliff in the violent explosions. At the edge of the base, as the explosions continued, the lightly injured Iwen ninja finally got their chance. Bound by ropes, they easily broke free using broken kunai tips they found on the ground. They swiftly attacked their wounded comrades and the Konoha ninja guarding them. Within seconds, they had killed their wounded companions, desperately fought off the guards, and then rushed towards the forest outside the camp. Fortunately, they had watched the Konoha ninja set up the traps and had secretly memorized their locations. Under the cover of darkness, they encountered almost no obstacles from the trees and escaped into the forest. The prisoners have escaped. The prisoners have escaped. The sounds of the bridge explosion hadn't even subsided when anxious shouts rang out throughout the camp. The news quickly spread, and within seconds, all the Konoha ninja in the camp knew, with more and more joining the shouts. Many Konoha ninja dropped what they were doing and ran towards the direction of the shouts, chasing after the fleeing E1 ninja. Seeing a large number of ninjas chasing after the dozen or so lightly wounded E1 ninjas, Gecko Hong quickly said to Shiraku Hayato, Uncle Hayato, tell them to stop chasing. It's too dark now, and we're not familiar with the surrounding forest or its traps, but these Iwe ninjas know that. If they've run away, they've run away. There's no need to increase casualties. Preparing for battle is the most important thing right now. Yes. Upon hearing this, Shiraku Hayato immediately responded and flashed off to relay Gecko Han's order. You probably let them escape on purpose, didn't you? After Bayun left early in the morning, Yu Guangxingai chuckled and whispered to Yu Guanghan. Otherwise, after you entrusted the task of guarding the prisoners to Kimura Takuya chose the edge of the camp to guard them, claiming it was to avoid hindering the construction of defenses. If that were all, it would be one thing, but he only assigned 3 chunin to guard them. Now the prisoners have escaped, and you just happened to stop the pursuit in time. Although your reasoning is indeed reasonable, if you had intervened, those prisoners wouldn't have been able to escape at all. No one understands me better than Uncle Xingai, Yu Guanghan complimented with a smile before saying, it was indeed me who asked Kimura Takuya to let them escape on purpose. I can sense their positions from a distance, thereby judging the location of the enemies we will face next and attacking in advance. At dusk, a ninja hawk flew into the Iwe ninja team led by Dong Siren in the last rays of sunlight. My lord, the Tenchi Bridge has fallen. It happened yesterday at noon. A moment later, Mo Zhi hurriedly found Dong Siren ahead and whispered, handing him the intelligence report from the ninja hawk. The Tenchi Bridge has fallen. Upon hearing this, Dong Siren was stunned for a moment, then quickly took the intelligence report from Mo Zhi and began to read it. Whether the Tenchi Bridge could be held was crucial to their encirclement and suppression of the Konoha forces led by Yu Guanghan. The intelligence report stated, at noon, the camp was suddenly attacked by a series of unknown explosions. The power of the explosions was extremely high, comparable to a B-rank fire release ninjutsu. The attack came from the east, at an unknown distance, presumably some kind of explosive object launched into the camp from a distance by the enemy. The bombardment lasted for about 30 minutes, with nearly 1,300 explosions. Most of the traps around the camp were destroyed, the defenses were almost completely destroyed, and most of the trenches were filled in. The attacking enemy was not detected until 5 minutes after the explosions ended. After the explosion, approximately 500 Konoha ninja stormed the camp. By this time, our side had suffered heavy casualties, with fewer than 100 men still capable of fighting, most of whom were wounded. It's Moonlight Han. I didn't expect him to be able to do this, attacking for 30 minutes straight. After reading the intelligence report, Dong Siren gripped it tightly in his hand. The Tenchi Bridge had been captured by the Konoha ninja. If the Konoha ninja blew up the bridge and then used the existing defenses to hold the remaining 3 sides, coupled with Moonlight Han's bloodline limit, encircling and annihilating these Konoha ninja would inevitably result in even greater casualties. All troops halt. The next day, at dawn. Looking at the 10 piles of almost identical rubble that suddenly appeared before him, an ominous premonition rose in Dong Siren's heart, and he immediately ordered a halt. Demon Leech, immediately take men to check if there are any traces of a large-scale explosion along the distance from here to the Heavenly Bridge, Dong Siren said cautiously to Demon Leech, looking at the rubble left by the 10 cannons. Your subordinate will arrange for men to check immediately, Demon Leech replied, quickly disappearing into the forest. If that Moonlight Han really has a technique with an attack range of nearly 20 kilometers, this is a huge problem. After Demon Leech left, Dong Siren gritted his teeth, looking at the rubble left by the cannons with a headache. Although he didn't know what this rubble was for, it definitely wasn't for cooking. Konoha ninjas wouldn't be so bored as to pile up rubble in the same way. Adding to the intelligence he had received before, and the rubble he had seen piled up in a similar way once before, Dong Siren had a bizarre guess that even he himself couldn't believe, that Moonlight Han had launched an attack on the Heavenly Bridge outpost from here. This place was nearly 20 miles from the Heavenly Bridge. Although this guess is far-fetched, it's not impossible if it's Yu Guanghan. If that's the case, it means they've already entered Yu Guanghan's attack range, finally here, at the Tenchi Bridge, in Konoha's base. Yu Guanghan looked eastward, a smile playing on his lips. After nearly 150 lightning-released ninjas continuously replenished his energy points had reached 250,000. Anyway, it's still free. P.S. On average, one lightning-released ninja using lightning release, Earthwalk provides the protagonist with 30 energy points. 150 lightning-released ninjas using lightning release, Earthwalk together provide 4,500 energy points. After collectively consuming all their chakra, they can release it about 15 times on average. That's 67,500 energy points. A ninja can refine chakra about 3 times a day, so consuming all of it would give approximately 202,500 energy points. Chapter 74 Untitled. My lord, huff. 40 minutes later, Demon Leech returned, panting heavily. How is the situation? Did you find any large-scale explosion marks along the way? Upon seeing Demon Leech return, East Dead Man immediately went to greet him, asking anxiously and expectantly. My lord, huff. Demon Leech, still panting, said anxiously before his breath had even caught up. I didn't find any large-scale explosion marks along the way, but there were quite a few traces of traps destroyed by ninjutsu. At the Tenchi Bridge, the Iwen ninja base at the Tenchi Bridge had numerous explosion marks. The previous defenses were almost completely destroyed. The Konoha ninja have now occupied the area and rebuilt some defenses, it's true. Upon hearing this, East Dead Man's expression immediately changed. Moonlight Han really could attack from a distance of 20 kilometers. If Moonlight Han knew their location, the consequences would be unimaginable. They would even suffer heavy casualties if they tried to approach the Tenchi Bridge. Retreat immediately. Thinking of this, East Dead Man immediately issued the order to retreat. Although it was uncertain whether Moonlight Han already knew their location, remaining within Moonlight Han's attack range was clearly extremely unsafe. Yikang. We're about to go and encircle Moonlight Han together, shouldn't you share all the intelligence by now? Looking at Yikang in front of him, Wang Tu, the commander-in-chief of the Iwen Ninja Front, said through gritted teeth. Due to insufficient intelligence on Moonlight Han, they had already lost 400 or 500 ninjas, and even the Tenchi Bridge had been lost. Upon hearing this, and considering the current situation, Yi Kang finally spoke, saying, Yu Guanghan's bloodline limit is very strange. It's a completely new bloodline limit with very comprehensive abilities, including ranged combat, melee combat, defense, sensory perception, speed, flight, and stealth. His attack speed is extremely fast, making it difficult to dodge at close range. His attack range is also very long, possibly exceeding 10 kilometers, and he can launch wide-range attacks. He is not afraid of fire release. Even my scorching release cannot harm him. He can also absorb lightning release for his own use, and possesses very strong defensive capabilities, able to withstand an A-rank wind release, dragon drill. He also has a sensory perception range of approximately 2 kilometers, capable of blocking the perception of powerful sensory ninjas. Isn't there any way to counter his bloodline limit? Wang Tu asked, frowning. Even the most perfect person has weaknesses. What are his weaknesses? The only thing that can counter his bloodline limit is Raza's Golden Sands magnet release. Even Earth release can only protect him. Hearing this, Yi Kang thought carefully, recalling his battle with Gecko Han, and said, his weakness is that his movement speed is very slow, only about a level of a Jinan. I haven't found any other weaknesses yet, besides being slow. Is he really not a weakness? Wang Tu frowned and looked at Yi Kang, asking again, somewhat disbelieving that Yi Kang had really told him all about Gecko Han. No, his slowness has been compensated for by his abilities. Yi Kang shook his head and said, even if his speed is only at the level of a Jinan, with his extremely fast attack speed and extremely long attack range, it is very difficult to get close to him. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Dongxi had only ordered the Iwen ninja to retreat for half a minute when the whistling sound of heavy artillery shells suddenly rang out above the retreating Iwen ninja. Boom. Just a fraction of a second after the sound, before the Iwen ninja could even react, violent explosions erupted among them. Each explosion sent flames soaring above the surrounding trees, engulfing an area of several meters. Ah! Screams echoed through the forest as countless Iwen ninja were thrown back by the flames and shockwaves of the sudden explosions. Damn it, our location has been discovered. Seeing the violent explosions erupting among his Iwen ninja, Dong Siren's heart sank. He realized that Yu Guanghan had discovered their location and was attacking them from a great distance. Retreat. Retreat immediately along the same route, without hesitation, without even ordering the rescue of his wounded comrades. Dong Siren immediately issued the most correct command. The most urgent task was to get out of Yu Guanghan's attack range immediately. Rescuing the wounded who couldn't move would likely cost even more lives. As they retreated, Dong Siren's mind raced, trying to figure out how Yu Guanghan had known their location. If they can't figure this out, when they surround and annihilate Yu Guanghan and his Konoha ninja forces, The massive casualties Yu Guanghan inflicts will likely be unbearable for the Iwen ninja. The casualties will probably not be less than 1,000, they might even exceed 1,000 before reaching the Tenchi Bridge, or even more. HMPH, if you want to withdraw from my attack range now, you'll have to pay a price. At the Tenchi Bridge, in the Konoha ninja's base, Yu Guanghan continuously operated 15K-16 cannons, firing in 3 waves at maximum rate, averaging 5 shells every 3 seconds. The full frequency firing rate and almost uninterrupted bombardment maximized the destructive effect. However, while Yu Guanghan was bombarding the Iwen ninja led by Dong Siren with maximum destructive power, he consistently avoided several points of concealment among them. Could it be that Iwen ninja are coming? Maybe they're those Iwen ninja who've been chasing us all this time. Haven't they learned their lesson from last time? The continuous firing of the Moonlight Han cannon echoed throughout the entire base, attracting the attention of all the Konoha ninja there. Everyone watched the 15K-16 cannons, spewing out huge tongues of fire with imposing power, and began to discuss curiously. However, no one was worried. In fact, no one even looked down on the Iwen ninja. In their minds, the Moonlight Han was synonymous with killing the enemy. Chapter 75 The Iwen Ninja Army Attacks. After retreating 10 kilometers through the forest, Dong Siren finally stopped with his Iwen ninja. Immediately take a head count and treat the wounded. Report to Lord Huangtu and nearby allies that Moonlight Han's attack range reaches 20 kilometers immediately. The moment they stopped, Dong Siren anxiously issued these orders. The violent explosion had trapped at least 50 of the 700 plus Iwen ninja, and many of the rest were injured. Yes, upon hearing this, the surrounding Iwen ninja immediately responded, beginning to bandage the wounded and take a head count. They released their ninja hawks. That Moonlight Han seems to increase in attack power with distance, but the frequency of his attacks decreases. Conversely, the closer the distance, the faster his attack frequency and the weaker its power. Watching the Iwen ninja begin taking their head count, Dong Siren pondered again. He felt he had discovered the characteristics of Moonlight Han's bloodline limit, and might even be able to find a way to counter it. Sir, the head count is in. 53 of our comrades haven't escaped, the subordinate's report interrupted Dong Siren's thoughts, extinguishing the fleeting joy in his heart. The cost of discovering this characteristic was too high, and the impending battle to encircle and annihilate Yu Guanghan and his Konoha ninja would only bring even greater casualties. Kimura Takuya, summon all lightning release ninja, at the Tenchi Bridge, in the Konoha base. After Dong Siren's Iwen ninja escaped Yu Guanghan's artillery range, Yu Guanghan simply turned his 15K-16 cannons to dust and summoned Kimura Takuya. Yes, sir. Upon hearing this, Kimura Takuya immediately went to make the arrangements. Because Yu Guanghan needed a large number of lightning released ninja to replenish his ranks, the lightning released ninjas in the base became a special group. They didn't need to participate in building defenses or setting traps, yet they enjoyed the best treatment and food. Their only task was to maintain ample chakra at all times, ready to act as power banks for Yu Guanghan. Why is it that even though the energy points have reached the limit, it hasn't increased further? Is there some condition preventing it? After Kimura Takuya left, Yu Guanghan was once again troubled by the problems of the past few days. The 2 times he reached the energy point limit before, he directly upgraded the storage template. However, when he reached the 500,000 storage limit, he was restricted. Unfortunately, the technology template didn't have any intelligent guidance or system wizards, and there weren't even any missions. He could only figure it out slowly on his own. Now, he had no idea why the energy storage limit was being restricted, let alone how to remove the restriction and further increase the energy storage limit. In the afternoon forest, more than 3,000 ninjas were slowly advancing. How far are we from the Heavenly Bridge? Ahead of these 3,000 ninjas, the commander of the Iwen ninja front asked an Iwen ninja. Upon hearing this, an Iwen ninja beside Wang Tu immediately glanced at the map in his hand and replied, Sir, it's about 15 kilometers to the Heavenly Bridge. Ye Kang, are you sure that Moonlight Han can attack from a distance of 10 kilometers? Wang Tu nodded and asked Ye Kang, who was walking alongside him. This was a crucial question. In this siege of Moonlight Han and his 500 Konoha ninja, how could the Iwen ninja allow the Sand ninja to merely watch without contributing, while they themselves suffered heavy casualties? Of the 3,000 ninja troops, there were over 1,200 Sand ninja. His attack range is very likely to reach 10 kilometers, Ye Kang replied. After I led my troops here, when Raza was fighting Moonlight Han, Moonlight Dawn inflicted heavy casualties on Roz's troops from a distance of 8 kilometers. Therefore, it can be inferred that Moonlight Hand's attack range should be around 10 kilometers. 10 kilometers, that's a very long distance. Lord Huangtu, an anxious shout came from behind. An Iwa ninja rushed to Huangtu and Yekin, urgently reporting, Lord Huangtu, Lord Dongxi has sent an urgent message. Moonlight Hand's attack range is 20 kilometers, and he has discovered our location using an unknown method. We must not approach this range lightly. All troops, halt immediately. Upon hearing his subordinate's report, Huangtu's mind immediately went on high alert. He issued the order almost without hesitation. Yekin was also stunned for a moment. Moonlight Hand's attack range was 20 kilometers, and they were already within 15 kilometers. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Unfortunately, Huangtu's order was a step too late. The 3,000 troops had only stopped for 20 seconds. Before Huangtu could give the order to retreat from Moonlight Hand's attack range, the whistling of heavy artillery shells filled the sky. Heavy artillery shells rapidly flew over Huangtu and his men, hurtling towards the center of the troops. Boom! Violent explosions rang out one after another amidst the dense ranks of Iwa and Suna ninja. Crimson flames engulfed everything around them, and shrapnel flew like kunai shuriken thrown with all their might, felling swarms of ninja. The sudden, violent explosions threw this 3,000-strong ninja force into chaos. Retreat! A delicate shout rang out. Yekira was the first to react, and without even consulting with Huangtu, she immediately gave the order to the Suna ninja in her ranks. Among those present, no one knew better than her, having faced the Moonlight Han directly, how terrifying its ranged attacks were. It was an ability designed for slaughter. If no immediate countermeasures were taken, total annihilation was not out of the question. And now, the best course of action was to retreat immediately. Retreat! Hearing Yekira's order, Huangtu didn't hesitate and immediately gave the same command. At the same time, Huangtu's hands were constantly forming hand seals. The attack came from the sky. Ordinary defensive ninjutsu couldn't defend against such a high altitude, but that didn't mean some non-defensive ninjutsu couldn't. Earth release, earth mound technique. As Huangtu pressed his hands to the ground, the nearby forest began to tremble. In front of Huangtu, two enormous hemispherical spheres, each 300 meters in diameter, rose from the forest and eventually merged, forming a 300-meter-high hemispherical mound that blocked the incoming artillery shells, like a small mountain. Boom! A series of explosions rang out atop the mound. Phew! Huangtu breathed a sigh of relief as the explosions were blocked. It had just barely blocked them. If the shells had been dozens of meters higher, even he would have been powerless. Looking at the enormous circular mound that had blocked the explosions, Yekang was also surprised. However, even such a massive mound would be flattened in no time against Moonlight Hand's long-range attack. And how many Iwa ninja could execute such a ninjutsu? End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.